out to the car.
Yeah, let's hope she's parked close.
I don't know why she's got the headphones in the car, though. That's weird, isn't it? Maybe she just likes to wear them all the time. We're going to ask her when she gets to the studio, right?
Now.
Well, you would think that she would store them. I know that she uses them at home. Maybe that's the reason. We'll
right.
find out, though. We're going to dig deep, do a deep dive here into why Sue Thomas's headphones were actually in the car. Why were they in the car and not here?
Well, I didn't put them in my purse.
Oh.
So
why would they be in your purse?
The black interior, it just blended, and I forgot to pick them up when I walked
in.
inside.
Do you not keep them here on a regular basis?
No,
or you
because I
take them because you use...
Oh,
I know that, but you couldn't have, maybe you should have two pairs of headphones.
Oh, yeah,
one for home, one for work.
Yeah, that did not occur to me.
Can we micromanage your life just a little bit more?
Well, if somebody wants to buy those for me, otherwise I'm not doing it. We're just taking them back and forth.
I don't blame you. I get it. All right. Well, welcome to the show, though, Sue. I'm glad that you are here. Ethan was spending some time with the previous crew because Brad was out, so he's scrambling like crazy around here. We have a lot to cover. We have the State of the Union address tonight, and Marc Cox is there. He did a show from Washington, D.C. this morning. We're going to hook up with him here in just a few minutes. Clem will join us this hour. We're going to talk about some of the activity down in Puerto Vallarta with the Mexican cartels. And, there's a little bit of new, well, it's not really new. I mean, there's something that was blasted out from the Guthrie family. Savannah had another video. But they raised the stakes in that suit to $1 million. You and I were just talking about this. Like, why not come out of the gate with a really, really big reward? Well, the story that came out today is that the sheriff, and there's more and more questions about that guy. I don't know. He encouraged them to not do that.
Yeah, he thought it would bring in too many more crazy tips. They were getting enough of that. And
maybe there's something to that.
There's probably something to that.
Yeah.
But at this point, good heavens.
Right. No, I know. So that's one of the developing stories. But the thing that I really want to start with here is the nonsense that the left is participating in over the U.S. men's team, not only capturing the gold, but reacting and celebrating jubilantly because they're Americans and they're proud. And President Trump calls, this is nuts what's happening right now. It really is. And I think it's a defining moment because you have people out there on the left that really all of a sudden they hate what this hockey team represents because Trump called and Kash Patel was in the locker room. And they also, by the way, and this is one of those things that I've had to do for now almost 10 years. They're completely misinterpreting the comment about the women's team. I mean, it's not even close. There was no disrespect to the women's team whatsoever. And it's a bunch of nonsense. And if this is the way that they want to react, look, I called someone last night. I was just kind of wanting to pop off about someone, a political consultant. And I said, look, there's got to be a way. I hate to even look at it this way. But this is a moment right now where people who live in this country are proud to be Americans. We're proud of the women's team. We're proud of the men's team. I cannot wait for tonight. And you guys know this, that I hate these things. State of the Union. I get off work. I want to go. I want to watch Mizzou. They play tonight, 8 o'clock. I have no interest, but I'm going to. And you know why I'm going to? Mainly, not because I got to talk about it tomorrow, because I could always catch up, because I'm excited to see these hockey players be welcomed to the halls of Congress and into that chamber. So, they took off this morning. The vice president sent his plane. There's already some social media pictures that are circulating from outside of the White House. They all have their cool, State of the Union. Well, not their State of the Union. They're USA, not their State of the Union sweatshirts. They're USA sweaters, right, Fred? We have to say sweaters. And they're just having the time of their life. And Charles Cook wrote about this in National Review, and I think he may have summed it up the best. So before I share some audio here, let me just tell you what he said. He goes, the conventional wisdom, and this is why it's so backwards, and Sue and Fred in particular, and hopefully the audience, you know this because I've juxtaposed a lot of this with that commie trader Eileen Gu. And what Charles wrote in National Review is that the conventional wisdom with our illustrious sports media this morning seems to be that Eileen Gu, who skis for China, is an estimable American role model, whereas the U.S. men's hockey team, which plays hockey for America, is an international disgrace. And that's the way these people are playing it off. And he says, permit me, if you will, to offer a humble counter-argument. In my estimation, Eileen Gu is a mercenary sports trader who ought to be muttered about darkly. And I agree with Charles on that, whereas the U.S. men's hockey team is chock full of awesome, fun-loving, patriotic champions who deserve every last drop of their newfound esteem. Selena Zito had a great tweet about this last night because, let me see, I think it was Chuck Todd. Ugh. He's disgusting. So Chuck Todd, let me get to this moment. I've been pretty active on the Twitter here today because I'm worked up about this. All right, so Chuck Todd says Kash Patel has embarrassed the office and himself. Sadly, That's not news anymore. But I'm truly sorry he's helped sully the men's team. I choose to believe many of them are embarrassed, especially after the POTUS comment about the women's team. So there he is. He's lying. Okay, so he's lying about that. Selena's response was, this is the most ridiculous takes of all the takes ever in the history of takes. No, Cash did not sully the men's team. This is a perfect example of why so many Democrats and journalists have completely lost the script in relating to men. This is normal male behavior. Like if I showed you the video, Ethan sent me the video of he and 3 of his buddies watching the game and celebrating, hugging each other, jumping up and down. They were having the time of their lives. That's what men do. Some women do it when they're excited in sports moments as well. But back to what Charles was writing in National Review. He says the charge against the men's team seems to be fourfold. First, that having won the gold, its members declined to address the tide of fascism in the United States and instead said the nationalistic things like, this is all about our country right now. I love the USA. I'm so proud to be an American. This is for every American. It's the greatest country in the world. Everyone better be wearing the red, white, and blue for as long as they can. Oh, my God, those are terrible things. Second, okay, that during a post-game phone call with a rollicking President Trump, the players didn't band together on the spot to push back against his supposedly sexist jokes or apologize later for their complicity. Third, that the team subsequently agreed to go to the White House to celebrate their victory, and even worse, that it seems to have excited them by that prospect. Fourth, that the FBI director, Kash Patel, went over to Italy to watch the game and then chugged a beer with the team in the locker room. Together, the sporting press is keen to inform us that these decisions have sullied the USA's victory and ruined the reputations of its architects for all time. It's nonsense. It's a bunch of crap. It's disgusting. It's un-American. And you're embarrassing yourself. Okay, you really are. If you're all worked up about this, Dave Portnoy said, you're a lunatic. There's no helping you whatsoever. There really isn't. And if you know people like this, you have friends like this, I see people on Facebook. I've unfriended more people in the last 2 days over this particular incident because if you're that much of an idiot, if you can't get behind this hockey team in one of the greatest moments in sports, in Olympic sports that we've had since certainly Michael Phelps, I like to include Katie Ledecky too because she was great, then you're a lunatic. There's something wrong with you, deeply wrong. Last night, these guys are at a bar. They may recreate this moment tonight at the State of the Union. We're doing the national anthem, Proud Americans, in a bar in Miami celebrating their victory. I mean, think about this tonight. If they do that tonight to start off the State of the Union, are you kidding me? And what are the Democrats going to do? Are they going to sit on their hands? What's Wesley Bell going to do? Is he one of the protesters? Is he going to boycott Fred? I haven't heard that he is. So what's he going to do? Is he going to sit on his hands or are you going to cheer for Americans who are in front of you? I mentioned Dave Portnoy at Barstool.
If this speech made you mad, you need to take a Valium and maybe just take 1,000 steps back because there's nothing to be mad about when the president congratulates a gold medal winning team.
Nothing to be ashamed about at all. It was a great moment. It really was. I'm not the biggest Kash Patel fan. I think he can act like a buffoon. I don't really care that he was there and celebrating and drinking a beer.
He's a fan,
who cares?
I assume.
Right, exactly. So then they have Jack Hughes' mom on, who was also an Olympian, right? And the Today Show, Hoda's asking Ellen these questions.
Let me ask you about something that's getting a little traction, a video that came out afterwards. It shows the men's team talking to the President of the United States, and he was inviting them to the State of the Union and all that. And then he said a comment that gained attention. He said, I must tell you, we're going to have to bring the women's team. You know that? And the room kind of laughs. And he added, I do believe I probably would be impeached. He was sort of joking through this. But you're cheering on both teams. How did that comment land for you?
So they want this to be a story, right? So she's somewhat diplomatically trying to ask the question about the women's team and the disrespect when you had some of the first reactions from these guys was, oh my God, it was both of us. It was the women and the men, and they were celebrating together. They couldn't be happier for one another.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's just about the country. And the moment that these players, both the men and women, can bring so much unity to a group and to a country. People that cheered on that don't watch hockey. People that have politics on one side or on the other side. And that's all both the men's team and the women's team care about. If you could see what we see from the inside and the men and women sharing, dorms dorm rooms and halls and flex floors, and the camaraderie and the synergy and the way the women cheered on the men and the way the men cheered on the women. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Thank
and
you.
the other things they cannot control. They care about humanity, they care about unity, and they care about the country.
So they tried to stir it up with Ellen Hughes, and she didn't go for it. And Jack Hughes is incredible. I mean, he looks like he's like 15 years old, and he's, a patriot, and he's proud of what the team accomplished, and he's proud of the damn country.
How do you feel about the women not going?
They got busy schedules too. I mean, I know we're getting everyone's giving us backlash for all the social media stuff today, but it's so negative. People are so negative out there, and they're trying to find a reason to just put people down and make something out of almost nothing. But our relationship with them over the course of being in the Olympic Village, I think we were so tight with their group and our group after we won the gold medal.
So one thing I didn't think about it, and I think that it was his mom that reminded me, they're not staying in the fancy hotels like they would be if they come to St. Louis on the road or something like that, right? They're in the Olympic Village with everyone else. That's part of the experience.
How do you feel about the women not going?
Oh, that's the same cut, unfortunately. I thought that was another cut, but it ended up being the same thing. Here's Matthew Tkachuk.
It was super cool. It was an honor. It really is hearing from the President of the United States. Hearing that, he was supporting us and all the other athletes and wanting us all to bring home as many gold medals as we can.
Here's Zach Wierenski.
We love representing our country. We love wearing those colors. We're allowed to live out our dream because of the military, the people that serve, the first responders, and it's just an incredible country. It's the best country in the world.
Look at that. We have people who actually love the country, and they'll be highlighted tonight at the State of the Union. And if you're someone that's going to root against that, you have deep-seated mental issues and you need help.
We actually look pretty good on the roads. Of course, when I say that, there was an accident southbound 270 on the ramp. Well, at least close to Big Bend, and they had the right shoulder blocked in that area. But it's not causing a massive delay. We do have an accident northbound 67 past Tenbrook Road. Watch for that one in the right lane. But for the most part, it's moderate volume out there right now. Westbound 70 looks great out of downtown, out through Wright City. 6440 still looks good. And we've got moderate volume on southbound 270, a little at Big Bend. That goes back through 64. At 55, some moderate volume headed down toward Bates. On the Illinois side, eastbound 64, a little slow there between 157 and 158. That, of course, is due to road work. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Midwest winters can take a toll on your garage door. And at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis, they can come out and perform their 26-point tune-up on your garage door and opener. Just one price for up to 3 garage doors and openers. Schedule online, overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Today is Tuesday. That means it's Tech Talk Tuesday with George Rosenthal in a couple of hours, and it's always fascinating. He's got some great topics for us to chew on. But I also want to tell you what he does here in St. Louis. He is an expert and the founder of ThrottleNet, and they're an IT company. It's not an internet company. They're not giving you Wi-Fi or anything like that. They're preventing your business from doing things that are going to hurt you with cyber threats or pressing a button or giving a password out accidentally. Most businesses, George will tell you, don't know where they stand on these issues. So are you secure? Are you just one click away from a breach? Easy way to find out. They're offering you a free baseline IT security audit designed to give businesses a clear starting point within minutes. It's not confusing. It gives you a simple risk score. It shows you where you're strong and where the gaps exist. Unfortunately, one of the things that George and the team find is there's a lot of gaps, but it's a real practical way to understand your, as a business owner, real world risk without the guesswork. So check George out in a couple hours right after 5:30 and go to throttlenet.com/971 for your free baseline IT security audit. Check out ThrottleNet today. Throttlenet.com.
Holy book. You guys practicing essays over there?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Sue's pointing something out. We're getting Marc Cox on the line. He's out in D.C. doing his show and going to the State of the Union. But one of the stories today, I did forget to mention this with the Nancy Guthrie deal, is the guy with the backpack with the mask and all that. Now I don't even know if you can trust this, Sue. They're saying that the doorbell photos could be from different days because there's no timestamp on them.
Huh.
So the dude looks a little different in one shot where he has got no backpack, and then in the other one he does. So I have no idea. I don't even know what to make of this anymore.
I don't either.
But they raised the reward to $1 million, and then the doorbell stuff came out. But it's confusing. So
yeah, it really
that's
is.
all I have to say about that. Chris Clem coming up after the bottom of the hour. We have a Tuesday edition of Sue's News in the next hour here. I actually have there's a guy that I really like. John Cass is his name. He used to write for the Chicago Tribune, and he took a buyout like most of these guys do. But he publishes his stuff on johncass.com, and I like his stuff. John's been a guest before. He's not the greatest radio guy. Like, he's not the most riveting guest, but I love his material. And he wrote a great piece today. I want to spend a little time with it about life without smartphones, because John's like old school, cranky guy.
Oh, yeah.
But he also featured and highlighted some other people. I think it would be liberating. Personally, but we cannot do it, right? Especially with our jobs. But I'll share some of the thoughts on that as we get into the 4 o'clock hour. We have Dennis Hancock in the 4:30 segment. He has officially filed as a Republican candidate for St. Louis County Executive. So we got that. And, of course, Tech Talk Tuesdays. John Lamping's going to be with us later. Let's head out to Washington, D.C. Marc Cox is out there for the State of the Union. How are you doing this afternoon?
I am doing fantastic, Mark. Thanks for having me on. It's been a little bit of a long day because I had to get up at 4 a.m. this morning to get to the studio on time and all that stuff. So your favorite morning host here just woke up from a short nap, so I can stay up till midnight tonight.
And what was your travel like? Like, did you have difficulty because of the snow? Most of the snow kind of hit further north, right? Was that not an issue?
Well, surprisingly, I mean, it was nip and tuck, to be honest with you, because the nor'easter came ashore right on the edge of Washington, D.C. Apparently, over across the Potomac on the bay, they actually had 4 or 5 inches. In Washington proper, they got about 1.5 inches, and it was melted by the time I got here yesterday afternoon. So we were worried that we weren't going to be able to make the flight or it might get canceled, but we just got lucky.
All right, I'm just going to be honest with you here. If tonight happens and I don't see Trump, look up in the balcony or wherever you're going to be and say, Marc Cox is here as a special guest, that's a complete fail. So if you don't get singled out tonight, Mark, that's it. It's over. It's not worth the trip. You know that, right?
I get it. I kind of feel the same way. Yeah, I'm kidding. Apparently the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team just arrived in D.C. a short time ago aboard the plane that the president sent for them. It looks like Air Force One. I guess unless he's on it, it's not. But they're here somewhere, and they're expected to be recognized tonight. And the thing about it was, I was talking to Brian Kilmeade about this earlier, who happened to be broadcasting from Washington today, too. So I got to run into him and talk to him. He's like, they apparently had to make room for them because every seat was accounted for. Suddenly the president announced he's adding 12 people or however many members of the team were able to make it. So that should be interesting.
Well, you've been in that chamber before. Look, it's kind of like when you watch one of the late night television shows. It's a lot smaller than you think in person, right?
Correct. Yeah. I was so honored to get a seat in there. So apparently each member of Congress gets a guest, and that's who compromises the majority of the seats in the upper chamber. And then, of course, the White House is apparently going to have Erica Kirk. I assume that's true. I saw that that news a little bit earlier, that she'll be his special guest tonight.
So you are the special guest, though, I think, of Congresswoman Wagner, right?
I am. Yeah, I feel very honored to get that opportunity. And, in fact, in about an hour, I'm going to be leaving here to head over and meet up with the Congresswoman, and we get to go to the Speaker's reception prior to the State of the Union. I have no idea what those words mean. I just assume Mike Johnson's going to be there and other members of the Republican congressional delegation, maybe everyone. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Look, I said this in my open. Be honest with you, as much as I'm into politics, the State of the Union address, dude, just kind of sometimes just drives me crazy because it's all the applause and it's blah, 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 and then we analyze it. But my goodness, this is going to be an incredible moment tonight when those hockey players are in that room. I can't wait for that. I mean, that's what everyone's waiting for, right?
Well, I think so. And I guess the question after last year, when the Democrats, or most of them, refused to stand up and applaud a young boy with brain cancer that the president recognized, I assume they'll all stand up and applaud the hockey team. But I guess we're going to find out in a couple hours.
So what are your other expectations? Look, the bottom line here for the president is that the economic numbers are not quite as strong as we would all like them, as he would like them. That doesn't mean that there's not room for growth, but the shutdown affected the GDP numbers. I mean, I would like to see him, and these are always wishes that never come true, I'd like to see him go out there with the USA, the hockey team, and launch right into positivity, the accomplishments, the big, beautiful bill, and focus on the positivity, America 250, all of these things, because I think leaving the American people with a good feeling tonight is important. And you got so much going for you with the hockey team there. How hard would it be to close the deal, right?
I say Mark Reardon for new White House speechwriter. I wish, but I don't think that's going to happen. And here's the problem, and you and I both know it, because we've both been in situations where we've had to stand up and give speeches. You get to a point where you sense you're losing the audience if you go on for too long. And the president's already warned everybody it's going to be a long speech because he's got a lot to say. So hopefully he gets to the positive, important things first before he starts to lose the audience.
So you were saying, Mark, that you were taking a little bit of a rest. You haven't popped up yet this afternoon up on Capitol Hill or anything like that, have you?
I have not. I went to the White House when I left the Fox News studios earlier because I kind of hoped that they might have a impromptu media appearance by the hockey team over there. And there were rumors of it. Everybody was kind of on standby. But then, to the best of my knowledge, that never materialized. So I did a little walkthrough of the press briefing room, but I have not been over to the Capitol yet. I'm heading over there about 5.
You're using the Fox studios out there, correct?
Correct, yeah, which is, if you've been down there, just down the street from the Dubliner and right across the street from the Capitol.
So where are you staying at the Dubliners, where I would always stay out there when Fair did the events? Is that where you're at?
No. The prices at that were a little too steep for radio coverage, so we stayed at a Marriott Courtyard about 1.5 miles from there. So I'm having to take Ubers everywhere in Washington, D.C., because it's too cold to walk that far out here right now.
Right. No, and I understand that. On the overall agenda for the president and on the economy moving forward, I don't know what your feelings are about the midterms. I mean, you listen to most of the legacy media, they act like this is over already, right? Now, we know we're up against it with history, but I'll be very curious to see, if you're able to pick up on this trip out there when you come back, any things that are kind of lying in the undercurrent there. Like if you go to the speaker's event tonight, there's got to be some members that are nervous about some of this stuff. I think that we all kind of wish that everything with ICE in the beginning of January that ended up being very, very tragic would not have happened. Mark wished that Tom Homan would have been up there faster, but we seem to be, outside of the lefties going crazy about the president calling the hockey team, we seem to be at a bit of a calmer time right now, which is not a bad thing.
I hope so, Mark. I do. And you mentioned messaging earlier. It is so important that the president and people that support his agenda, because let's face it, that's why so many millions of people voted for him. He's doing what he said he was going to do. We have to hope that they regain control of that messaging. In many ways, they've let the left and some of the weaker members of the Republican Party, in my opinion, kind of steal it a little bit on the affordability issue. And you have to hope that these numbers were, like the GDP numbers, I think, were affected by the shutdown in the fall, those latest GDP numbers. But overall, things have been very positive for the economy. Prices are starting to fall. We've just all got to hope that happens so that the American people see it between now and August or September.
Yeah, Marc Cox is here. He's in Washington doing his show from out there. We'll attend the State of the Union tonight. Is there anyone on your list that you want to meet tonight? Like, maybe go up to AOC and give her a big hug or something like that, Mark.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be really surprised if she's at an event like this where Mike Johnson's having everybody.
I doubt it. Yeah, no, I doubt it. I doubt it.
Hakeem Jeffries has done a really good job of whipping his party into a frenzy, I'm afraid. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd love to meet John Kennedy, to be honest with you. I'm kind of hoping he's there and I can go up and shake his hand. We've tried to get him on my morning show a few times. to talk about his book, and so far we've had zero luck.
Mark,
so
you
I'm
know
hoping I
what?
can
You just
shake a
stole.
few hands.
That would be my name too, because I love him so much. So he would. I was going to tell you that would be the number one person I would want to meet, just because he's such a wordsmith and he's a lot of fun to listen to. All right, well, have fun tonight, dude. I'm jealous. I think you're going to have a blast, and then you're doing the show just tomorrow morning and coming back, right?
Correct. I'll get about 4 hours of sleep and be back in the studio at 5 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, if you're looking for
Central Time.
empathy on the sleep thing, no, I'm not going to give it to you. You're not getting any here on the afternoon show. All right, hey, have a blast, okay?
Thanks, Mark. We'll talk soon.
If you are a westbound 70 driver, things look good out of downtown. 64, moderate volume, and this is approaching Hampton out through McCausland, slowing again at 270. Again, this is all just moderate volume, and that's what we're seeing at this hour. It's not bad. Southbound 270, slowing at Ladue Road and at Manchester. Things are fine on the bridges downtown. There is some moderate volume on the Illinois side. Eastbound 64 at 157. That is due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1.
It was yesterday about maybe a couple of days ago, the lawyer fees that are topping also go on the cheap when it comes to a very important area of your life. And if you have the end of a marriage coming or anything that happens in the aftermath of that, you need Susan's help. And you need it sooner than you probably think, because what she'll tell you is a lot of people put off these decisions. That tends to haunt you in the long run. Why not give them a call right away? There's a confidential consultation form right there on their website as well. And then start the conversations. Ask questions. Susan will even tell you, like, interview her or members of her team to find out if you have, a good vibe or a good feeling. Because if you don't, then, your gut's going to tell you something else. You would want to go in a different direction. I think you're going to be fine when you meet the team and you get to know Susan. You'll want her to fight for you on your side. So give them a call or just go to the website. Like I said, there's a great form up there. You can fill it in. They'll get right back to you. STLFamilyLaw.com. The focus on family law and the emphasis on you, Susan L. Ward. $3:35, and this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing. Well, you can always follow me at Mark Reardon, KFTK, but I'm doing my best here this afternoon to retweet. Can you still say that, Sue? I think you can,
No,
right?
what is it?
I don't know what I'm doing, but there's lots of images that are coming in.
Repost on
Repost. There you
X.
go. Lots of images coming in from the White House. Jack Hughes and Dylan Larkin in the West Wing. I just saw another video where they showed up in Trump's office. So the hockey team is having a lot of fun here this afternoon. We'll keep you posted on that for sure. We have Chris Clem with us, former Yuma Sector Border Patrol Chief who served last year as a special advisor to RFK Jr. at HHS. Chris, I understand that you've gone Hollywood on us. You're filming a movie this afternoon. What is that all about?
Let's make it very clear. Not Hollywood, but independent. Okay.
Okay.
But I'll make it real quick. So I'm in Detroit. We are wrapping up the final stages of a movie called Play. It's an underdog boxing movie directed by Alexander Wraith, who has been in Star Wars, Mandalorian, Orange is the New Black, done a bunch of stuff, and Francesca Eastwood, daughter of Clint Eastwood, Bianca Von Damme, the daughter of Jean-Claude Van Damme, and world fitness bodybuilder, Mr. Universe, Mike O'Hearn is in it, along with UFC champ Don Fry from back in the day. So it's kind of cool. And I never thought I would ever do this, but a friend of a friend saw me on TV who knew Alex and said, hey, this guy would be good as a boxing announcer. And, well, here we are. We'll see how it plays
awesome.
out. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We have to get you your own page on IMDb. Are you aware of IMDb, the Internet Movie Database? That's where you go. Like, if you want to find out who directed what, but you got to get a credit on there if you're going to be the ring announcer. That'll be exciting.
I'm there. I just need you to credit me for this interview today.
We will do it. We'll do it for sure. Let's turn to some serious stuff here. Look, I had a friend. I had John on, my friend John Ziegler last night. He just had his family in Puerto Vallarta last week. There's a lot of people probably that have tickets and hotel accommodations for spring break, which will be coming up at a variety of schools across the country in a couple of weeks. But this is kind of scary what happened. So what would you say about this whole operation where we had a military operation from Mexico that was supported by the U.S. intelligence that took out one of the big cartel guys?
Well, I'm going to quote my friend Derek Maltz, who is the former acting administrator of the DEA. Sunday was a good day for the United States. We got a gold medal in hockey, and we took down one of the most dangerous cartel leaders in the world, El Mencho. He was leading in the leading figure in the fentanyl distribution into the United States. So I think that's a good thing. But, it's what we're seeing play out is what typically happens when there's some kind of leader exchange in one way or another, to put it, with the cartels. But, the fact that Mexico worked with us on the information and intelligence piece, that really came out of a joint counter-cartel division that was just stood up earlier this year. So we've been actively working on this since the president came in and took office to identify cartels as terrorist organizations. So this is going to, really disrupt things. But I will tell you that we have seen this before. You will see the removal of a cartel leader either by arrest or by being killed. And there'll be a lot of reactionary stuff like we've seen all throughout the country of Mexico, but specifically in some of the areas like Puerto Vallarta. But that will be short-lived, and then there'll be infighting and jockeying for territory, and the big cartels like Sinaloa and stuff will try to gain some more territory. So it's not over, but a lot of the initial chaos, I think, has subsided.
So I shared a quick story yesterday, and I just want your reaction to this. I've vacationed quite a bit down in Todos Santos, Mexico, which is, on Baja. Yeah. It's north of Cabo. And it's always been safe, and we've never really felt unsafe. However, the day before, I think it was the last trip, we had some musician friends who were playing on the beach, and there was a kind of a hit that went down. A guy was shot, and the body stayed there for a couple hours. And when we started talking about and it was over drugs, we were told, but when we started talking about the crime and the shooting with the locals said, well, look, there's sort of this unwritten rule to not mess with the tourists, and the guy that shot the drug dude is probably going to get taken out himself because he wasn't supposed to do that. Now, I don't know how much veracity there was to that. These were locals that were just kind of chiming in. But, I mean, it does make sense that you have this sort of unwritten rule that the cartels understand that a good portion of their economy is based on tourism, right?
Yeah, no, that story is absolutely right. You don't even, that's exactly how it operates in Mexico. You don't want to draw attention. We know that there's dirty Mexican officials in all levels of their government, from local all the way to higher levels, that are keeping this kind of under control, if you will. So you don't mess with, the tourists or anything that's going to bring an attention or attract attention to the United States. Same thing as if somebody without the permission of the cartel leader says, take a shot at a Border Patrol agent, they know what that reaction is from the U.S. side is going to be. So unless it's ordered, you don't do that. That person in that incident you talked about, if it wasn't given the green light, he's probably his head's been taken off because that's unnecessary.
That's kind of what the story was when this was all happening a few years ago. All right, just briefly here, I don't know, I think you've been following the Guthrie case, and I didn't even mention it the last few days. This morning, there was something that was a little odd because we learned, and I don't know if this is confirmed, that a couple of the doorbell images and, the dude with the sweats on and the mask and the backpack, that maybe two pictures could have been taken at two different times because there was no timestamp. That is utterly confusing, Chris. Do you know anything about that and what that might tell us? Because that makes this thing even weirder.
Well, the whole thing is weird. I have been there on the ground, did some live reporting a couple of weeks ago there from that Guthrie house. The whole situation is strange. The fact that we're seeing a different video or other imaging that may have taken earlier, a day or two before, shows this was clearly targeted. He knew what he was doing. That's probably why I stick to the fact that he was on the night of incident. He wasn't, torn up with brush or stickers or, dirty. Like he knew where he was going. But and then the fact that image came out, and then today I understand Nancy's family has upped the reward.
Yes. To $1 million.
So that leads two things. Either we are completely cold and stumped, or we think we're getting close, that we think that a higher number there's enough evidence or something out there that maybe that will tip the scale to bring somebody to confess or call in. Just hard to tell because nothing is playing out. There's no routine case. And if this doesn't tell you and verify that there's no such thing as a routine case, this Guthrie one is it.
I think you're right.
It's
Look,
crazy.
Chris Clem is with us. Sue and I were just talking about this last week. I think it might have been off the air, but one of the things I said is like, why not just put that $1 million out there to begin with? The reasoning was, I guess the sheriff was saying that they wanted to do that, but he didn't want them to do that because it might draw in more of the fake tips. I mean, I thought it was a mistake to not put something out there right away that would have been pretty incentive laden, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you on that. It's kind of like, if we put $1 million up front, well, then they're going to wait for $2 million. I mean, does that work? Or are you going to get a lot of people? But remember, these are tips leading to the arrest. It's not just to get that money, you got to do something. But I agree. Like we're taking this serious. We want to end this. We want to find Nancy. We want to close this case. We want closure. It's $1 million. Let's work on it. But I have not been the part of the reward side and what that psychology is on why we do that. I think that putting a big dollar amount kind of hopefully maybe people know that it's going to be looked at more serious. So you don't just get a bunch of ridiculous random tips. You get somebody's like, hey, this is $1 million. They're going to be, I can't just BS them with a fake tip. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know because I haven't been on that side of the world when it comes down. Why do we come up with that price? But the whole case is strange. All sides point to we don't know what it is yet. We have to constantly go back to square one. Every bit of information is just that it's information. You see if it's been verified to become actionable and hopefully takes on a lead. It's really upsetting that we've gotten this far or it's been this far along since it's happened and we've got no resolution on her proof of life. I feel, regardless of who's involved in it, it's still somebody's mom, somebody that is gone and missing.
It's awful.
And we don't know what happened. We need closure. We need closure for the family.
Well, that's what I said. I think before you came on off the air too. I told them like even if you're given the $1 million, there's certainly means in the family. Even if she is dead, and Savannah in her video today admitted that she might be, you can't go on living without knowing what happened. I mean, that would I can't even imagine the torture that they're going through right now, but to have to relive that for months and years and not have any answers, that's got to be tough. Chris, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Mark, one quick thing. I want to go back to the cartels. Look, I've said it 100 times on your show. Border security is national security. When we talk about border walls, when we talk about the things that the agents need at the line, it's to protect Americans so we don't have like spillover violence and all this stuff coming into our cities. This is why this is so critical. It's not Trump's ego and building the wall. It's necessary to protect Americans, and it keeps us when these cartels start infighting and trying to gain territory, that we have a secure border to hold the line to keep these border towns and this trash from coming into the United States, because we're protecting people with the infrastructure that is required. And I don't want people to lose sight of the why we need a secure border. And this example with the cartels is right there, right in our face right now. So I just want to make sure the audience and I foot stomp
that's
that
important.
every time I can.
That is important. All right, Chris, you got to go back to your trailer and your makeup and your agent and all that stuff. I understand. We'll have to.
No, I'm calling you for all that, man.
All right. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You got it, guys.
All right, take care. This was rough today, and let me just play a couple of the clips here because we haven't had a message from Savannah and the family for 10 days.
It is day 24 since our mom was taken in the dark of night from her bed. And every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then, of worrying about her and fearing for her and aching for her, and most of all, just missing her. Just missing her.
How many tears? I mean,
I can't
nonstop
even
tears
imagine.
probably in this family. Now, she says she's not giving up hope.
We still believe. We still believe in a miracle. We still believe that she can come home. Hope against hope. As my sister says, we are blowing on the embers of hope.
But there's an acknowledgement as well.
We also know that she may be lost. She may already be gone. She may have already gone home to the Lord that she loves and is dancing in heaven with her mom and her dad and with her beloved brother, Pierce.
It's really tough to hear. One thing I wanted to add, though, here, because in that video, she mentions, increasing the reward to $1 million, but there's also this.
We also know that we are not alone in our loss. We know there are millions of families that have suffered with this kind of uncertainty. And for that reason today, we also are donating $500,000 to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for their work in helping families who are coping with loss and actively looking for those who are lost.
That's very generous.
Wow, that is really
as
nice.
well. I mean, day 24.
Oh, Mark.
Unreal.
On the roads, there is an accident on northbound 270, kind of at the top of the ramp from northbound 55 on to 270. Looks like somebody hit the median, and emergency vehicles are on the way. Some are there. So the left lane is blocked. It's really starting to bunch up in that area. That is the cause of the jam there. Now, southbound 55. That's a slow go, but it's the usual this time of day, headed down toward the Bates area. Westbound 6440, that's a slow go. Now, this is Kings Highway out through McCausland, then some moderate volume between Lindbergh and 270. Little slow at Highway N and at Wentzville. 70 has some moderate volume now at Jennings Station Road, a little bit at 94 and headed for 79. Things look great on the bridges downtown. 157, though, eastbound 64 is slowing at 157 due to road work. This report brought to you by Artistic Decks. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Over the years, because they've been a great sponsor for a long time, Banner Construction, I've done a little work with them. They put a beautiful patio door in my house, sliding door that goes out to my hot tub. They did some work on a door that was upstairs. They have repaired some siding because I may or may not have shanked a golf ball into the side of my house a few years ago. That wasn't very smart. I keep doing stupid things. But Banner's there for you if you need to really renovate your home and the exterior of your home in particular with beautiful product like James Hardy Fiber Cement Siding. It's great great. One of the really interesting things about the Hardy product is they are designed to perform differently in different climates. So the same product you might get here in St. Louis is going to be a little different down in Florida or in California or up in the north where, the temperatures are typically a little lower. But they have all kinds of options for you, like lap siding. They have shingle siding. They have panel vertical siding, all kinds of different finishes like cedar mill, smooth stucco, and Sierra. And the team at Banner can guide you through all of this. And don't forget about Pella replacement windows. So check out Banner Construction today, 569-1050, or the website, bannerconstruction.com. Hey, our Fish Fry Friday stops continue this week. Apache Village RV is making all these possible. We got one of the books. We'll be at the Knights of Columbus in Cottleville this Friday. That's going to be fantastic. It's one of our favorites because we've been there, I think, each year that we've done these broadcasts. We go to South St. Louis County next week at Assumption. That's on Mattis Road. I believe we've been there before. St. Mary Magdalene in Brentwood on the 13th. Queen of All Saints in Oakville on the 20th. And then Ott's Tavern and Fish Stand in Millstock on March 27th. So we're off and running. And we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. That's 5 left, right? We're doing 6 total. 5 left. It will be done before, you know it. March is just around the corner. You know, with February being that very short month, isn't March 1st like Monday or something like that?
Yep, I believe.
Oh, look at this here.
Hold on.
Oh, no, it's worse. It's Sunday.
Oh,
but
gosh.
Here's what I will tell you. I know that you're dialed into this too. A week from Sunday, which is the 8th, which is also Alexa Reardon's 11th birthday, that's when we spring forward already.
Yep.
And I've been telling you, Sue, like when I'm driving home toward the west, I head west on 44 toward Fenton, and the sun is always setting, for the most part. And I keep seeing more and more daylight, just a little bit more each day. And it gives me hope. And then we're going to have a lot of daylight here in about 2 weeks.
It was semi-light when we were driving home last night.
Yes.
Just for a little while.
I know, and that's what made me think of daylight saving time kicking in as well. Tonight's going to be a bit of a challenge for me. I'm not going to lie. Mizzou plays at 8 o'clock. The State of the Union's at 8 o'clock. I definitely want to see the hockey team. They're posting all kinds of fun images from around the White House, inside the Oval Office. This is going to be quite special tonight at the State of the Union. Of course, Marc Cox is there, and he's going to broadcast live from D.C. again tomorrow morning.
Well, we do have some volume out there and an accident. And the accident is pretty much on northbound 270, just past 55, kind of at the top of the ramp from 55. They've got the two left lanes blocked now, and traffic is really stacking up behind it. Southbound 55, some volume headed for Bates. Westbound 64, it's moderate volume. Kings Highway out through McCausland, Lindbergh out through 270, and then again in pockets, Highway N through 70. Now, 70 westbound, moderate volume Jennings Station Road and just past 94. It's not bad. Southbound 270 with moderate volume from Page down through Doherty Ferry, but it's also slow at 55 as drivers look at the accident. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Big. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. House Speaker Mike Johnson says that's what he told the president ahead of tonight's State of the Union address, that he should sell what Republicans have done.
When we are sitting in a country right now where inflation and gas prices and crime are going down and paychecks and tax refunds are going up, you have a secure border again, you have a restoration of peace through strength, we're respected around the world again, solving wars along the way.
Democrats couldn't disagree more.
Costs have gone up, job creation has gone down, and ICE is totally out of control.
Though House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has urged his caucus to attend the speech and sit in silent defiance, 70 Democrats now plan a boycott instead, with some attending alternative protest events. New Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger will give the formal Democrat response tonight. You can listen to live coverage of the State of the Union beginning at 8 Eastern tonight at foxnewsradio.com. On day 24 of the search for Nancy Guthrie, her daughter Savannah announcing a new reward, appealing again for anyone with information to reach out.
We are offering a family reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads us to her recovery.
The Today Show co-host says the family still believes in a miracle and that her mom can come home, but has also accepted the fact she may never return. A deadly mass stabbing attack under investigation in Washington state. The Pierce County Sheriff's Office says 5 people are dead, including the suspect. Deputies were initially responding to reports that a man was violating a no-contact order. When they learned the order wasn't valid because it had not been served on the suspect, they were en route to serve it when they got additional reports he was stabbing people outside a home near Tacoma. America is listening to Fox News.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZzzQuil Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZzzQuil Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Well, best plans laid and all that. I had this great John Kennedy bite that I wanted to play, but Fred, it's doing that thing where the error message is there. I can't. Don't get me started on the state of the resources here at Odyssey St. Louis, because every time I try, we'll see if we can fix that. But there was a great cut from it's not Kennedy. Your fault. It's just the computer's fault. So Secretary Kennedy, this is hilarious. Well, actually, it's not hilarious. Okay, this is serious, and I want to talk about this. And I don't know if you've seen the video, so I don't want to laugh about this. It's laughable what's happening with my computer, and it's laughable what the response is. But did you see the video of the New York City police officers who were pelted with snowballs?
Are you kidding me?
No,
I have had it.
Oh, Sue, you would not believe. So this is in Washington Square, and apparently the story was that there was some kids. There's a structure there, and there were some kids that were playing on top, and they were throwing snowballs. So the police got called to clear the kids from being on top of the structure in Washington Square. So these cops deserve a Medal of Honor just for standing there. They're throwing them at their faces. One dude who wasn't a cop got hit and got a bloody nose. So it was just this free-for-all that happened. But Mamdani...
Oh, of course, encourages it. Oh, it's great.
Well, basically, you tell me, because he basically said, I've seen the video here. Listen.
From the videos that I've seen, it looks like a snowball fight. I think that there were 2 officers who were facing lacerations on their face.
All for prosecution of those who pelted them?
Look, I've seen the videos of this snowball fight. I think that it was a snowball fight.
He hates the cops
Wow, this
so
is,
much.
Did the
This is outrageous. And when you see this video, it's disgusting. Look what he's already doing to the city. He hates the cops so much that he can't even criticize people that are throwing. I mean, some of this is ice balls, too,
Yeah.
right? So even Eric Adams said watching officers, is this that hard, right?
No, wait a
watching
minute.
officers get pelted, the former mayor, right?
Yeah.
Watching officers get pelted with snow while they're out in brutal weather protecting the city should make every New Yorker furious. It is disgusting behavior, and the politicians who constantly bash the police and refuse to have their backs are setting a terrible example. He could not be more correct. It's outrageous. And Mamdani will get a free pass on this.
Hey.
You know, they're not going to discuss this on CNN or MS Now or anything like that. They won't show the video of these poor cops. And these are the same guys that, by the way, here in St. Louis, including the black officers that were spat upon during our demonstrations and all this other stuff. It's ridiculous.
I don't. How was it a fight? Were the officers doing that back?
No, they weren't.
Then how is that a snowball?
No, there's a
fight?
bathroom in the park or something. There's a structure. It has a flat roof. So these kids climb up there, probably, because it was a snowball fight to begin with. Don't misunderstand that. But that's when it turned ugly because the cops show up. They're the targets for the mob. They were throwing big chunks of snow and ice, and the officers were pushing a couple of people away because they're being pelted. And I told Fred when I first showed you this video, I said, can you even imagine doing something like this? Or your kids, you have a child, someone participating in throwing a bunch of snowballs. Nope. And they're not in fun. It's not in jest. It's one thing if you're doing that just to have a little fun. Who would do that to begin with? But that's the amount of disrespect they have. And if you got a mayor that has a history of calling the cops racist, evil, wicked, and corrupt, well, that's the tone. The words have consequences. He's the guy to be blamed for this, and he can't even have the guts and the courage to say, you know what, we don't want to see that in our city. It's utterly ridiculous. It really, really is. Okay, I was going to do this here just because I thought it was funny. I don't know if you heard me talk about this in the last hour, Fred, but I mentioned John Cass, and John occasionally is a guest on the show, but he's not the most riveting radio, right? But he's an old-time Chicago newspaper columnist, one of the greats, I think, who used to be with the Tribune. John kind of calls it as he sees it. He's a very libertarian conservative, and he's, old school, to say the least. So he wrote a column this morning that said, I am bereft. Opening the mail early in the year 2026, I find a crisp letter from AT&T informing me that my landline will soon disappear. Copper wiring is obsolete, they tell me, while cheerfully offering me to sell alternative products and services. Now, my mom and dad have a landline. I don't know if I know anyone else. Fred, do you have a landline?
No.
Okay, I'm not sure I know anyone else who has a landline. No, you don't have one, do you, Sue?
No, I don't know anyone who does.
So John says, for most of my life, I had relied solely on a landline, which anchored me to an easy chair from which a caller invariably had my full attention. Never while I was driving, cooking, shopping, or bathing while conversing. A few years back, he writes, friends and family insisted that I acquire a phone for the car just in case. To their unanimous disdain, I purchased a flip phone designed for seniors. It's a marvel. It has an excellent reception and simple to use. It's red, so I can find it in my purse, he says. His man purse, his MERS. I use it to talk to people. I do not text, with rare exceptions like receiving those annoying little access codes from the bank. It costs $28.53 per month. And he says, sometimes back I read of a trend. Certain CEOs, genuine captains of industry, were shedding their smartphones and returning to flip phones to save time. For those who can do so, I recommend it. And he kind of goes into the detail about how, he's got some friends, and I think they were both older men still, that said, look, phones have taken over people's lives. I have a smartphone. I was pressured into it, but that doesn't leave the house. I have no idea how to operate it. I just talk to people on it, using it like a landline. He says, I tell no one it's a smartphone. They would start texting me. Friend number 2 goes farther. He's younger and in construction with his own business. He and his wife have 8 children. This stuff is ruining us as human beings. People are losing the ability to interact with other people. He's right. They're becoming blue screen dopamine friends, or fiends, rather. His oldest kids have phones, but with strict boundaries. What about his business? He says, at first my clients are surprised I only use a flip phone and don't text. I just laugh. Later, when I finish a job ahead of time, they ask, how did you get it done so fast? I tell them, by not wasting time checking on a phone every 5 minutes. And I think we'd all admit, we're addicted to these things. I've gone, at least on a bit of a personal mission, if you're going out with friends to dinner or something like that, I leave the phone, in the car. It's tough to do, though. It
You
really
know what
is.
part of the problem is that it has so much information. Because if you are doing something else, maybe you're watching a game of some sort, maybe you're at a basketball game, you think, oh, who's that guy over there? Oh, wait, let me look him up. It's such a source of information. In other words, you don't want to necessarily be yapping it up on the phone all the time.
Right.
But it's also auto info. Oh,
Yeah, he admits texting is very useful and convenient, but he kind of says we need more human contact. And I think people
He's
who are
right.
business owners who, have hired younger people, they would tell you that these kids have lost the ability to communicate. So what Mr. Cass wrote, he goes, here's the secret. The human voice is full of information, emotion, and subtleties of speech that convey a great deal. When you and I speak by phone, I can hear if you're taut or relaxed, genuine or pretentious. To some degree, I can discern your age and level of maturity and education. In a job I held long before cell phones entered our lives, I had on occasion to make a few cold calls. In preparation, I would call my target at 10 p.m. the night before to hear their outgoing voicemail message and learn something about them. Young or old, happy, sad, stressed, it was useful information, such is the concept behind the legal practice known as voir dire. To speak the truth, an attorney interrogating you for jury selection can learn a great deal
Voir
about you in
dire.
seconds, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Just by seeing you and hearing you speak, messages on a screen deliver no such insights. You lose the fragrance of the human voice. Texting is like flowers with no fragrance. So to a certain extent, what happens, and Fred, you would probably admit that I would have saved myself a lot of headaches if I would never text or, because you can't, or tweet, you can't convey. You hope that people interpret the sarcasm or the point that you're making, but
Sometimes
you just
they
never
don't.
know. And then there are some times where people certainly would misinterpret things that you sent. Look, the thing with Trump right now is such a perfect example of folks misinterpreting.
Yes.
In my mind, I cannot believe, and I know that people, I'm trying to look at this through a different lens. I know people think that he was somehow, denigrating the women's team. I don't think that was the case at all. And by the way, if he was, I don't think the men would stand for it.
No.
They were cheering 2 for 2,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
They were thinking about the women as the women were cheering them on. But they're so angry about this, and they think that somehow that was a slight to the women. It wasn't. And this takes me back to the very fine people thing in Charlotte, because that to this day is manipulated and people lie about it because context is helpful. By the way, I did find out that Wesley Bell, who is in his second year as a member of Congress, he's still a freshman, he is not going to the event tonight, to the State of the Union, to participate in the boycott. Let's see here. What does it say? He's joining at least a dozen others who plan to skip the event. In a statement response, what did he say? I don't know. They're quoting someone here who's slamming them, but I don't really care. It just leaves more room for the hockey players, doesn't it?
Crews are still working with this accident. I just posted it on X at Susan6768. It is northbound 270 just past 55, and it's a vehicle into the median and an accident. There appear to be two vehicles, one of which is in the median. And the left lanes are blocked. Traffic is jammed behind it, and it's going back a little bit onto 55. But it's going against rush hour. Rush hour would be southbound 270, and it's moderate volume at Ladue Road and then south of Gravois down through 55. 44 westbound slowing in front of the Arch grounds in what we call the depressed section. There was an earlier accident eastbound 70 at 270 that's now on the shoulder, and westbound 64. Slow pockets Highway N out through the 70 split. We look fine on the bridges downtown. 64 eastbound slowing at 157. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
A very special State of the Union edition of Sue's News.
What?
Just thought I'd build it up a little bit more. Coming up next. This is filing day for the political candidates. Dennis Hancock, who is a member of the St. Louis County Council, he is my councilman, has officially, we knew he was getting in the race, but he's officially filed for county executive. He'll join us, talk about that just a little bit at the bottom of the hour. Former State Senator John Lamping kind of weighs in on politics in Washington and in Missouri with a State of the Union preview at 5:04, and it's Tech Talk Tuesdays. George Rosenthal will be here at 5:32. But we got to do this here this afternoon on a Tuesday afternoon.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
You know, I was asking you guys earlier, you remember Uncle Bill's pancake and dine on Kings Highway?
Right.
And somebody redid it. They've been in the process of redoing it, and I just looked it up. And it's supposed to open within weeks. And they've been posting the interior of the place. So they kept kind of the feel of the old place, but have, done it, redone it. It looks awesome. The kitchen is fantastic. So I'm just excited.
I am too. That used to be a place where I would go, once or twice a month after working an overnight shift. I would go there and meet some friends.
And Fred went to the Golden Hoosier last night.
Yeah, that's great, on South Kings Highway.
You haven't heard of that?
How could I have not heard of that? That's a great name.
Great cocktails, had a great smash burger, great appetizers. It was really a fun time.
That's good to know. You're very hip, Fred. That's all I can say.
I feel like all I do is sit in. It's like leftovers. I never get out anymore.
I get it. Well, happy National Trading Card Day to both of you.
Oh,
well, this is more of a Fred
That's
thing
right.
because he legit has collections.
That's what I thought of. Fred, how many cards do you think you have?
I can't count.
Do you have Pokemon cards, Fred, do you?
No, I do not. I do not.
Are you strictly baseball or do you have football too?
I major in baseball.
Okay, well, that's a good way to put it.
I don't actively collect any cards.
Besides
I just manage what I have.
Yeah, okay.
That's
so you're not
fair.
going out there, like
That's
even at the
fair.
estate sales, you don't get cards anymore if there's there?
No.
Really?
Yeah, don't need to.
I think that's the official line, Mark Reardon. Is that how you took it? That's how I took it. And it's also National Tortilla Chip Day, huh? If you want some Mexican food on the way home, which
Had
is
some of
sounding
that
good.
last night, but
Did
yes,
you?
it does sound good.
Oh,
yeah.
what'd you have? I'm
Well,
hungry.
the Stanton Elementary folks did another fundraiser at this place called, I think it's Rico's Tacos. It's over off of Hawkins Road. Or no, I think it's off of Bowles right there near 141. So I was brought a street taco and some guacamole and chips, and it was delicious.
Yum.
Because Alexa was there. Dave Klein, producer emeritus, was there with his sons because they go to Stanton as well. Yeah.
Sue, I hear you make a great guacamole dip.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do like guacamole, Fred. Here's the problem. When you make it, some people do not like cilantro. To some people, there's a gene or something that makes it taste like soap. Do you
I love
like
cilantro.
it? Say that makes you a
And
good person.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Here's what else I
Fred,
love.
Doesn't taste like soap. to you,
I've never
does it?
noticed that.
Okay.
I love, because you know who loves cilantro?
Smart people?
No, the bunny.
Oreo. That's like kale and cilantro.
Well,
his
of
favorite.
course.
But I love the way when I present, prepare his cilantro. All that means is I put it in a bowl. I love the way my hands smell. I love the smell of cilantro.
I do too.
It's great. I'm like,
I do
wow.
too.
That'd be a great name for a band, Kale and Cilantro.
Ooh,
That is a good
kale
name.
and
I like that,
cilantro.
Fred.
Fred, you're on fire. I feel like we play the Eagles for some reason every other week, so we're doing it again today because on this day in history, 50 years ago in 1976, the Eagles' greatest hits became the very first album in the U.S. to be certified platinum for selling 1 million copies.
I want to do something this year with this record. Tim Summers, our great music guy. I was texting you the other day when I was in my record room and I was listening to vinyl.
Yes.
And I love the band Boston, and I put the first Boston record on. And I decide every once in a while I do this with musical education. I thought, you know what? I don't know the whole backstory. I remember Tom Scholz. He was one of my musical heroes because it was literally one of the first records I ever listened to. And the backstory of that album, that first Boston album, is fascinating because they did it. They cut it. They got turned down. Then they said, okay, we're going to let you make it, but you have to go into the studio and recut all this stuff. Tom Scholz said, forget it, dude. I'm going back to my home, and I'm going to act like we're recutting it all. And then they put the record out from all of that. So it's an amazing story.
Wow.
And it was also one of those records in the year 1976, this is how I'm tying it in, that also became the first to go multi-platinum or whatever the number was. They sold like 20 million copies of that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now my Eagles story is not not actually seeing the band, but I guess it must have been in the late 70s when I was taking my, what's the college test? SATs?
Yes.
I was at UMSL doing it in an auditorium.
Did you get better than 960?
That's right.
Gavin Newsom?
Yeah, that's right. I was, Governor Newsom was not there. But they were playing this soundtrack over the big speaker for the half hour before the test started. So that's
Really?
always stayed in my mind.
Yeah, that'd be a memory that would lock in.
That's great.
Interesting.
Wow. And 28 years ago, apropos of nothing, in 1998, Elton John was knighted by Queen Elizabeth in Buckingham Palace. I bring this up because I looked up, what does that even mean?
Well,
so
you
they
get
have
to
to
be
call
called a
you
knight.
sir,
Yeah,
and they
sir,
call
right.
you whatever. But really what it is a high honor for outstanding achievement or service. So he got his for the arts.
No special parking?
No. Well, sorry, Fred. Not everyone can be you. Now, actor Robert Carradine from Revenge of the Nerds and Lizzie McGuire died yesterday. Did you hear that at the age of 71?
No.
You look him up and you'll go, oh, yeah, he was the head nerd in Revenge of the Nerds.
And it's Keith Carradine's brother.
Well, that makes sense. I was going to ask that.
And his daughter is Ever Carradine, and you'll recognize her face, too, if you look her up. His brother Keith says Robert was struggling with bipolar for nearly 2 decades and took his own life. So that is the entertainment story of today. It's very sad, but when you look at him, he just looks like a sweetheart. And his daughter put up the nicest post that you can possibly do today. Now, in L.A., this is crazy. I read this morning. It's a complete change of gears. But think about this. You're in L.A., and there are things called Coco robots that travel on sidewalks and deliver food. Now, they are bright pink. They're electric-powered robots, and they only go, like, if we had a restaurant, it could only go, 2-mile radius, so they don't send them too far. But this bright pink electric-powered robot with locked insulated compartments for food. So when it arrives, the customer opens it with a code from an app. Well, apparently all the kinks aren't quite worked out yet, and a woman in L.A. is really upset because a Coco food delivery robot went rogue and messed up her garden. Here is Jillian Smuckler talking about what happened to her property.
Cocos have been relentless. I heard a commotion. I came out here. I found the Coco in my garden. It had got my fence caught up in its wheel. It uprooted a whole bunch of plants in my garden and then just drove away with the fence attached to it. I chased after it and I looked like a total crazy person, running after a robot in the middle of the street, yelling after it. I was trying to block it, get in its way, and it was trying to go around me. These private companies can come in and dump their technology in our communities, and there's no sense of accountability.
Oh my gosh, that would have been...
Isn't that nuts?
Might be a strong contender for audio cut of the day. That's crazy.
Yes.
The only time that I ever encountered them is at the QT. The QT tends to have these little robots that go up and down and clean the floors, right? And you kind of, they don't run into you, but it's funny because I almost see them every time I'm at the QT.
Well, and I only see, what is it they call it? There's a name for it at Schnucks, what goes and just looks at all that. What is it? I'm smarty. I'm somebody.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
That's the only thing. So we don't have this stuff here. But I'm glad they do it in L.A. to work out the kinks, because if that thing ran over my garden and took a chunk of fence, what's her recourse? I guess she calls the restaurant.
Let's remember to play that to George during Tech Talk Tuesday.
Okay. Oh, that's a good one.
I think he'll have a good reaction to that.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Maybe he saw that when he was out at the big convention.
He might have. Yeah, he might be familiar with that because he was at CES last month.
Well, L.A. is a mess anyway. We kind of know that. But the Department of Transportation in L.A. is being mocked online for a PSA that told people there's no pooping on city buses. Do you have to be told that? I guess so. They shared 6 ads on their YouTube page. Each one encouraged people to report things like smoking, drinking, playing loud music, and public defecation. What? So apparently a local news station in L.A. reached out to ask, okay, is this really a problem on buses? And they released a statement the next day that said the ads weren't supposed to be posted online. They were for, quote, onboard viewing to inform riders on how to report crappy behavior.
Okay, but who cares?
What are
It's
you
the same
doing?
thing.
See,
Crappy behavior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was their
Good.
point. They were trying to make it. What are you?
But
no.
I mean, is that look? That has to be happening.
I would think.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I mean, it could easily happen on one of our Metro buses because I pass them every day, and there's like one or two people on them. So you got one dude on the bus, or I guess I don't want to be sexist here. It could be a lady. Wouldn't shock me at all.
That's nice of you not to be sexist.
Well, I didn't want to be discriminatory there.
Random stuff about Hollywood. Tom Hanks is going to play Abraham Lincoln in, quote, Lincoln in the Bardo. It's a hybrid live-action stop-motion animation film. And I thought, okay, Lincoln doing that. And William Shatner, who, by the way, is 94, is releasing a heavy metal album. Now, he's going to do this with covers by bands including Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, and Iron Maiden. It will have 35 guest stars, but he hasn't named any of them yet. He says he will boldly go into the genre. I kid you not, Fred.
I just read about it. There's a Star Trek cruise that I think just took place.
You mentioned
all
that.
Sorts of
Oh, my
Trekkers
gosh.
or Trekkies.
Well, that sounds like
And
something.
people who've never kissed girls, yes.
And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. Dr. Seuss wrote Green Eggs and Ham after his publisher bet him he couldn't write a book using 50 words or less. So he took that bet. There are only 50 unique words in Green Eggs and Ham, although he repeats them over and over so he could win the bet.
Wow.
And that's it
good.
for Sue's
That's
News.
a random fact. I like that. Dennis Hancock has filed officially for St. Louis County Executive. We're going to talk to him coming up.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Mediterranean restaurant chain Cava beat estimates in its latest quarter. Per share profit was better by a penny at 4 cents a share. Revenue hit at $275 million. Same-store sales were up 0.5%, which was much better than the 1.1% decline expected by Wall Street. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has given Anthropic until Friday to agree to broad military access for its AI models, according to reports. Hegseth met with Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei today at the Pentagon. If the tech company does not comply, Hegseth threatened to label the company a supply chain risk or invoke the Defense Production Act. Anthropic wants assurances that the military won't use the technology to spy on Americans or use it in autonomous weapons. Wall Street posting solid gains across the board today. The Dow Industrials added 370 points, ending the session at 49,174. NASDAQ up 236, S&P 500 ahead 52. That's Your Money Now.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. And you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com.
Okay, I think that stopped a little abruptly. We're having some satellite issues. That's what that's all about. That's the best I can tell you. Let me tell you about the Gelman team here in St. Louis. They're outstanding realtors with eXp Realty. And I know these guys pretty well because they're friends of mine and have been for a long time. But I trust them with real estate because they bring so much passion and expertise to the table. So if you are looking to buy a home or to sell a home, you might assume that you're going to get top dollar automatically over asking price. That still is happening. It really is. It's a competitive market, but there might be some things because what Neil and Mark have told me in the past couple of weeks is people want these homes to be move-in ready. So if your home has a deck that's fallen apart or something like that, and you're just expecting a buyer to say, okay, that's cool. That might have happened a few years ago, not as much now, which is why you need the great marketing and the effort of the team with the Gelmans to get you across the finish line, whether it's selling your home, which, you know, obviously you might want to do to move into the next home, or buying the next home and doing it seamlessly because that's not easy either. But the Gelmans with eXp Realty here in St. Louis, they're the experts. They also have a great tool on their website at the top of thegelmanteam.com where you can find out exactly how much your home is worth just by entering the address. Check out Neil and Mark today, the great team that they have here in St. Louis, thegelmanteam.com. 4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing. All right, we have filing that if you're going to run for office, which I am not, you could have filed officially to make that known today in Jeff City, and I think that's what Dennis Hancock did. He is my Republican member of the St. Louis County Council who is now going to run for county executive. Dennis, welcome to the show. This isn't exactly new news. You've made these intentions known for a while, but this was the first day you can make it official, right?
Right. Thanks for having me on, Mark. Yeah, this is another milestone along this long path that I started about a year ago.
So why get in this race? You've been the mayor of Fenton. You've been a member of the board here for the last couple of years. Why try to run as a Republican in this race for St. Louis County Executive?
Well, I think it's time, at least the voters that I've talked to and all over the county, everybody's ready for change, and everybody wants something different. It's been 40 years since we've last had a Republican elected county executive in St. Louis County. And I ask people all the time if we really want to continue down this path or if we want to try something different. Somebody who's fiscally conservative, somebody who understands how to run a government, and probably most importantly, somebody who's probably not going to go to jail.
Well, that's a pretty good goal considering the past history and maybe even the future history of the current county executive. But here's the way that I kind of see this, and this is problematic for Republicans. First of all, we need to have someone on the ballot, and it needs to be a nominee. I think we made that mistake when it came to St. Louis County prosecutor years ago, and that's how you get Wesley Bell. But I've been in the war rooms, Dennis, when votes are coming in on election night in the race for county executive, like with Bill Corrigan, and a Republican has come close, but they simply cannot get across the finish line. I am of the opinion, and by the way, you know me pretty well, I'm wrong all the time, so I'm not necessarily saying I'm right on this, that I don't think a Republican can win in this race in St. Louis County. I don't think the math really works out for you. And that has to be a big challenge because it's historic reality.
No, and believe me, I've considered all that. But what I've also looked at is, who's likely to vote in November. And the people I talk to, and I've talked to a lot of Democrats who are just tired of their party going so far to the left. The party doesn't represent them anymore, and they are looking for an alternative. And these are blue collar people who are retired or about to retire. They've been lifelong Democrats, but that's not the Democratic Party of Dick Gephardt and those folks. This is the Democratic Party of Cory Booker and AOC, and that's not what these people represent. So I think there may be enough votes out there to actually pull some over to our side of the ledger.
Well, but the problem is that, as you know, a lot of these things are decided in a primary. And Senator Brian Williams, I've met him. I've sat down and I've had lunch with him. I've got to know him a little bit. He seems to be a pretty solid candidate on the part of the Democrats, and certainly better than some of the other alternatives. And he also seems, one of the things that, makes it more difficult to pin him with some of the things that you just mentioned is, in my estimation, Senator Williams seems very micro-focused on St. Louis County and solving the problems in St. Louis County. I know you are, Dennis, but you know what happens with candidates, whether you're running for mayor or something else. You want to talk about Gaza and you want to talk about Ukraine and things that don't matter to people here in St. Louis County. So from that perspective, I think, maybe it could be a good campaign if you're the Republican nominee, he's the Democrat nominee, to actually talk and discuss issues that might, provide some solutions, because I genuinely sensed from Senator Williams that he wants to solve some of these problems.
No, I agree, Mark, and that's where all I've talked about for the last year is what I call the 3 C's: the crime, corruption, and competence. And it's the same campaign that Kara Spencer ran in the city. We want to plow the streets and when it snows. We want to fix potholes. We want to do the things that government should be doing, making sure that our infrastructure is sound, and making sure that we're being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. And I think some of this other stuff is just, the people.
Whoops, lost.
The difference, I think, between Senator Williams and myself is I actually have the experience to back up what I say I'm going to do because I've done it. And I think that, I don't think people are looking for somebody that's going to require on-the-job training.
No, I would agree with that. On the topic of the county's budget, because there's some big challenges there. And I would say, and I think you would agree, there's going to have to be some tough calls made, right?
Yep. No, I agree completely. And if you remember, you've lived in the Fenton area for a long time. When Chrysler shut their doors for the last time, that impacted the city, but that was about 15% of our budget that we lost.
Yeah.
And we managed our way through that. We did it by making strategic cuts. We did it by improving our processes and streamlining processes so that we didn't have to, so that we could eliminate some positions that weren't necessary anymore. But we were able to do it by communicating those things to the people who were going to be impacted by them. And we were successful at doing that.
So there's a story in our
It
local.
can be done.
There's a story in our local paper today. Dennis Hancock is here, Republican member of the St. Louis County Council, who's running for county councilman. The story says, despite an ongoing budget crunch, St. Louis County Executive Sam Page wants to hire 2 new liquor license inspectors to make sure gas stations, bars, and restaurants no longer allow customers to use slot machines recently declared illegal. So he's going to ask you guys to approve more than $200,000 to cover the pay and benefits of the new inspectors. Now, look, I'm no fan of these gray machines. I had Catherine Hanaway on last night to talk about them. I don't know how we have been able to get these things out of these gas stations up until this point. But that doesn't seem like a wise use of St. Louis County tax dollars to me.
Well, I just came from our weekly meeting in Clayton, and I made the point in the meeting that Sam Page is not the chief law enforcement officer of St. Louis County. It's not his job to figure out how to do that. That belongs to Melissa Price Smith.
Right.
And so Sam just needs to stay out of it. And to me, it's just another example of his vendetta against small business owners. Why is he pushing so hard to hurt these business owners? You go back to COVID, and you look what his decisions did to the business community at that time.
It was outrageous. We highlighted it almost on a daily basis here.
Right. And we're at a point in our existence where we're losing businesses every day to St. Charles County, Jefferson County, other places that want businesses to be there. And for some reason, we don't seem to want them here. And that's where, I've got a background in economic development, so I understand what it takes to keep businesses and to attract new businesses to an area, and we're going to put that to work.
Do you have any relationship with Mayor Spencer, a good relationship with her at all or not?
I have not met her.
Oh, okay. Well, because that would be obviously, I'm sure you know Steve Ellman, but having regional cooperation for this whole effort is important as well. One of the things I like about Karen, I'm trying to get her in on the show in studio to talk more about some of the things that came up last week in a Business Journal piece about infrastructure. But I like the fact that she is focused on the city. In other words, they're not doing press releases on international events or things that are happening in New York or whatever. I mean, I think we need people in Sam Page's leadership. I can't believe I'm using the word leadership because it's just not been there. I don't even know how he has support from Democrats at this point. And he doesn't in many circles, and we know that. But it's just outrageous when you think, I know you made the joke about going to prison, but think about what we've been going through, for 15 years now in St. Louis County government. When was Dooley finally booted out? That was probably 12, 13 years ago, right?
Right. Yeah, that was in, I think, 2014.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's been a comedy of errors ever since. I think we can both agree. All right, well, Dennis, good luck. I think you're going to need it here, but I appreciate you checking in with me here this afternoon.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it.
All right, take care. That's Dennis Hancock, who was filed. Here's what I know and what I remember, and I can't remember if it was Rick Stream or Bill Corrigan that this happened to first, but I think it was Rick, and I was pretty close with both those guys.
He's a nice guy, Rick.
He's great, and now he's one of the elections director. But I'm sitting, that place that is over there by the Grants Trail off of 55, where it's like that event space that's there.
Oh, yeah, like
it's
the
an
Orlando
A-frame.
or the-
yeah.
yeah.
It's not the Orlando, it's the other place. It looks like a house.
Yeah.
Well, they had, I think one night they had an event there, but I was also in a hotel room somewhere, and it was pretty cool because it was the first time I was ever in there in like the war room. And the results were coming in, and there was a lot of momentum, and it
Yeah.
looked like for a while. And again, I think this was
So
rigged. It
close.
could have been Bill Corrigan, but it was close. But then all of a sudden, these votes came in from North County. Now,
County.
I'm not alleging that was voter fraud, but it just seems to. It was a math thing. Everybody, if you knew the way that St. Louis County elections go, and you knew where the votes came from, people in that room knew at that point that you weren't going to be able to cross, the finish line. Same thing happened, in two different situations. Mark Mantovani tried to run, as a fake Republican because he was a Democrat. That didn't seem to work out. Jane ran just because no one else was running. But there really is an opportunity here, and I wish Dennis well. I don't see, and again, I'm wrong about these things. I don't see a path for a Republican winning in St. Louis County. I think people like Jane and other Democrats we have on the roundtable would tell you that. Now, having said that, I don't think you want to be put in a position where you're not putting up a solid candidate because you don't know what can happen
Right.
with Senator Williams or anyone else.
Yeah,
So
I would hate to say that's over before it started.
Right.
I understand what you're saying.
Right. But it's another one of those situations where, unfortunately, Sue, these things are kind of decided in the primary, right? And if the Democrat wins the primary, and that would be, I would expect, Senator Williams, that's likely the outcome. But you never know.
No.
You don't. That's why you got to go to the voting booths and cast your ballot multiple times in some cities.
Thank you to my former neighbor Dwight, who let me know about this accident. It's on Route 3, really close to Monsanto, between Monsanto and 8th. And it's blocking the left lane in both directions. So Route 3 is a solid jam in both directions south of the Poplar Street Bridge. Now, southbound 55 is a slow go, south of Arsenal. That goes on down through Bates. To the south of there, it's really not bad. Now, southbound 270 has volume. It's mainly moderate, but approaches Olive and in pockets down through 21. Southbound 170 is slow go south of Olive through 64. Westbound 70 slowing at Jennings Station Road, a little bit past the airport. And out west, 64 is slow pockets approaching N out through that 70 split. And they cleared that accident 55 at 270, so it's much better there. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. One of the major things in life that we are not really taught the details about is retirement. In other words, you're told, okay, well, you have to save. So you do, right? You have a 401k, you have an IRA, you do something, and then you get close to retirement and you realize, wait, how am I supposed to know if this money will take me all the way through retirement? You've got to have professional help. And this is why I like financial and tax architects, because they put on a class called Retirement Planning 101 that shows you exactly some of the stuff that you need to know. Here's how taxes work in retirement. Watch out for this. It's a pitfall. Think about this for when you take Social Security. And you can also see how they operate, because they have helped St. Louisans just retire with confidence for years. And they sit down and look at everything you have, consider the implications, and you've learned from this class so you can come up with a plan together. It's free, but you have to register. Go to fta-ria.com, fta-ria.com.
I love it. Yeah, I'll put it on you. Absolutely. I'm not giving it back. I'm not giving it.
I'll trade you that for a pen.
Hey, that's cool. There we go. I never thought I'd ever have this on my.
Yeah, that audio was a little hard to hear, but that was President Trump just a short time ago in the Oval Office. And Matthew Kachuk, I'm told, didn't gift him his gold medal, but had the president wear his gold medal, and that's what he was responding to there. But every time I mentioned this earlier, even though I'm a political talk show host and I'm obligated to, follow these things, I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, I don't watch the State of the Union live because it bores the living crap out of me. I catch up the next morning and I zip through it and I find the sound bites and stuff. I'm watching for sure tonight. Are you kidding me? I mean, if they really get to this moment, and this was pretty cool. This has gone viral here a little bit today, where the team was last night at this bar in Miami, and they just broke out into the national anthem. And one of the rumors that's being spread today is that might happen tonight, that they do that at the beginning of the speech. And on the topic of the Kachucks, here's Matthew Kachuk.
It was super cool. It was an honor. It really is hearing from the President of the United States, hearing that, he was supporting us and all the other athletes and wanting us all to bring home as many gold medals as we can.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's going to be a fun time tonight. I'll be very curious to see. I really will be very curious to see what the Democrats do, how they react to that, because it has been disgusting, the level of I don't know if I want to call it hate, but just vitriol that's been thrown at this USA hockey team for doing all the right things and being proud of Americans. And then because Kash Patel was there and Trump's on the phone line, that spoils the whole thing. It just ruins everything, right? And then this whole nonsense that, somehow the women were denigrated. But the people who have TDS, they believe this. They think this is true. And it's an affliction that, Sue, I cannot help. And I'll give an example of, people that are posting things that are just ridiculous, I would say. Here's another person in the media market I won't identify. Well, my joy about the men's hockey gold medal was short-lived. Too many videos of Kash Patel in the locker room celebrating, and that phone call to Trump where he says he has to invite the women's gold medal winning team to the White House too. All the men laugh, and then there are the Kachuk brothers who couldn't be more MAGA. Why wouldn't they just let us be proud instead of reminding us who they are? Gross. Still cheering for the women, even if these men laugh at them. The men weren't laughing at the women. They were not laughing at the women.
Nobody has a sense of humor. Good grief.
I mean, what happened over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, was unbelievably awesome and inspiring. And again, as I started the show, you are a lunatic if you can't see that. If you cannot enjoy this moment, including the president getting excited because people actually love the country, then there's something wrong with you. And by the way, the person that I just read that from and other people that are posting that, that's who I'm talking about. They are mentally deranged. They're people that I know, and I get in trouble all the time, Sue, so I got to be careful. I'm not going to mention names. But there are former media people in this market, right, who every day seemingly think it's their goal to angrily post about something that Trump did. And by the way, most of these people have no interaction whatsoever. There's nobody pressing like or commenting or anything like that. But they feel it's important that people know that they're virtue signaling because they have a case of TDS. It's something that, I see a shrink, Sue. I've had mental illness issues since 2013. I suffered immensely last year. This is something that you can legitimately and should seek help for. And I highly recommend at least a psychologist. I don't know if we need to hop you up on meds to make you sane again, but at least go see a psychologist and talk through the problems, because what kind of life does that? What kind of loser are you where you get up and some of these people are retired? For the love of God, go hit some golf balls. Go have fun. Go listen to some music. We don't care. The only reason I'm tooling around Facebook is because every once in a while I find content. But I don't care what you have to say. I really don't. And I don't like just completely unfriending people that I've had at least somewhat decent relationships with in the past. But you get to a point of people being unhinged and you just can't take it anymore. And I think I'm getting very close to that on this particular issue. And the thing that pisses me off the most is the allegation that he denigrated the women. It's such bull, I almost said the word. And it goes back to Charlottesville. It really does. The very fine people. It's the same people who are lying about that who are lying about this.
Accident on the Illinois side, Route 3 between 8th Street and Monsanto Avenue. Accident that was kind of blocking the left lane in both directions. So be careful through there. Accident reported now westbound 6440 at Kings Highway, but that one is on the right shoulder. And so slow pockets from Kings Highway out through 270, then Highway N on out through the 70 split. 44 westbound slowing in front of the Arch grounds. Westbound 70 slows mainly at Jennings Station Road and a little bit past the airport, and just moderate volume on southbound 270 Page down through Doherty Ferry and a little at 21. We look fine on the bridges downtown, but eastbound 64 slows at 157 in the construction zone. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, Game Day Men's Health, their great sponsor, Matt Lawrence and his team out in Chesterfield, they say they're a men's health clinic built for every journey, and they're trusted by men across North America, the U.S. and Canada. They have 400-plus clinics and growing. And one of the reasons they're growing is because they approach all this a little differently than some of the competition. They keep the pricing very simple. They make sure that you experience world-class treatment, and they're still offering Matt Lawrence and his team at Game Day in Chesterfield a free testosterone and PSA test. So if you make an appointment, it's a 1-hour appointment. They're very proud of sticking to that. You don't have to rearrange your entire day. You get a free testosterone PSA test, and then you get a plan. And maybe you're not interested in testosterone replacement therapy. Maybe it's something different. They have medical weight loss treatments. They have sexual wellness and ED treatments. They have peptides, which have really become popular. And what Matt has told me is there's a lot of misinformation out there about some of the peptides and vitamins. So if you're interested, make the appointment at Game Day out there in Chesterfield. They'll stick to the 1 hour. You'll come out with a plan, with a wonderful experience at a world-class office. And they have their own pharmacy, and that helps too, and it helps keep things simple and also cheaper. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. They're in Chesterfield, also O'Fallon, Missouri.
be a celebration of accomplishments. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. That's what House Speaker Mike Johnson says about tonight's State of the Union address. He says he told President Trump to go big during his address tonight.
When we are sitting in a country right now where inflation and gas prices and crime are going down and paychecks and tax refunds are going up, you have a secure border again, you have a restoration of peace through strength, we're respected around the world again, solving wars along the way.
On Fox Business's Kudlow, at least 70 Democrats, including Congresswoman Catherine Clark, the number 2 House Democrat, will not attend. But Minnesota Congresswoman Angie Craig says she will be there.
I would rather stick forks in my eyes than be here tonight to listen to Donald Trump talk about the State of the Union. But this is the people's house, and I will not abandon the people's house.
Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger will deliver the Democratic response. Listen to our live coverage of President Trump's State of the Union tonight, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern on FoxNewsRadio.com. The Trump administration is sued by Democratic state attorneys general over government changes to the childhood vaccine schedule.
California's Rob Bonta and Arizona's Chris Mays announced the legal action. Mays outlined the argument that the new schedule removing hepatitis and COVID vaccines, among others, wasn't based on science, but an ideological agenda.
One that Secretary Kennedy has been pushing for years.
Bonta said Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. has a right to his opinions.
He isn't entitled to use his opinions as the basis for breaking the law and endangering our children.
The Justice Department is involved in a separate case in Massachusetts against the American Academy of Pediatrics, arguing Health and Human Services is not acting on an anti-vaccine agenda.
Fox's Gernal Scott. America is listening to Fox News.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZzzQuil Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZzzQuil Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex saline from Vicks.
Sinex saline nasal spray.
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
You know, last week we had a great visit with one of our favorite people on the planet, Kenny Wallace, Sue, and there was a while back you had some very limited edition Sue's News T-shirts made. Yeah. I think if you go up on eBay or Facebook Marketplace, those things are going for like $2,000 or $3,000 at this point. But I had one that was specifically supposed to go to Kenny Wallace, and it never arrived. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was USPS or what happened. But you had one remaining shirt, and you shipped it off to Kenny. I have confirmation that he has it. It is washed. He said washed, but I figure I have to say washed in St. Louis, and ready to wear.
Oh, that's great.
My guess is there'll be a social media post soon enough with the Sue's News shirt. We should have probably had, I have my friend Luke Bly, who has Whiskey Dickerson, and they help out a lot of our remotes. He's going to come by because he lives in Cottleville. He'll be there on Friday at the Fish Fry. And look, we could probably inspire him to do a Sue's News T-shirt.
I'm not sure anyone would care, but
no,
that
people
would be
of course
great.
They would care. And that's why I think if you had more of these, we'd probably be handing them out more. You just made the limited edition, right?
Well, yeah, my husband did.
Yes,
and we have one left and one cup, so we'll drag it out. Maybe somebody will.
George Rosenthal will join us at the bottom of the hour for Tech Talk Tuesdays. He's always got some crazy stuff that he wants to talk about. There's AI malware that's been discovered, a bunch of stuff with the Zuckerberg trial that is now in the second week. That's not getting a ton of attention, but that's pretty important stuff when it comes to kids and social media. So that's coming up just a little bit later. I have, I've been reading and sharing and playing some responses this afternoon in the lead up to the State of the Union over this big controversy about the men's team attending in person. And there was a tweet that just came out from Riley Gaines. And there was one part of that tweet that I was a little surprised by, where she referenced the comment about the women's team. I'll get to that because she has a great post about the entire situation. But there was one thing that I was a little surprised by. But we'll get into that in just a little bit with a further preview of tonight. Former State Senator John Lappy, who also is going to join us on the roundtable Friday afternoon in Cottleville. How are you this afternoon, John?
Mark, I'm doing great. I don't know if you checked the line yet. What's the over/under on the number of minutes tonight for the speech? I know last year set a new record. It was 99 minutes last year.
And he's basically saying he's going to go longer than that. So this thing is going to go on. And I don't know how long even the start of the State of the Union, my sense is they're going to acknowledge the Olympic team right from the beginning, but you just don't know. I mean, that is going to be fun. John, I've said this a couple of times. These things could be kind of a joke no matter who's in office because they make their point. One side stands up, the other side sits on their hands, and then they get booed and someone stands up like Al Green last year. So State of the Unions don't do a whole lot for me, and I don't know how memorable they are, but this one is in a completely different light because of the hockey team being there. And I don't know if you've noticed some of the postings this afternoon, but they've been a blast.
Yeah, no, there's all kinds of things on Twitter, formerly X. This idea that Democrats are going to bring illegal aliens there. Who knows? Maybe they'll just turn the whole thing into WWE. The loss of decorum was fading quickly, but in that first term when Nancy Pelosi stood up and tore the speech in half, I think that marked the end of any possibility of decorum.
It really did. But what do you make of all this backlash right now? I'm rather stunned by people that all of a sudden are calling our hockey team sullied or holding them in lower regard because Kash Patel was there and celebrating, and President Trump called the team. And then there's this whole line about denigrating the women's team, which is, I think, a bunch of BS. But I'm rather shocked by the backlash. I guess we shouldn't be, because anything that Trump puts his hands on, we know the reaction on the left.
Well, even without going to the White House, I think that there's the left in this country. The hockey team is everything that they hate. It was high testosterone, physical, mostly white men with a lot of patriotism. The whole country was glued in to see what they were doing, and they achieved success, and they celebrated their success as men have done throughout time. And that's just, the left can't stand any part of that. And then the icing on the cake, obviously, is the Chikup brothers and the way that they hold up St. Louis, and it's just fantastic. And then visiting the president, that's great.
Yeah, it is amazing. It really is. All right, what are the other expectations for tonight? Look, John, we are, and you've been early in. You were early in on 2016, saying, "Watch out, Trump's going to win this thing. He's lost blue collar, workers." We know it was a close race in 2020. Trump still thinks he won that one. We know what happened in the election in 24 with all the support. A lot of it, focusing on the economy and on illegal immigration. There is this sense out there, and some of the polling does bear this out, that Trump has lost some of the support that he had, in particular with independent voters, whether it's because of the economy and people are still feeling the pain, or whether it's immigration. So this presents, obviously, big warning signs for the midterms, and in how, at this point of the year, is this all going to matter when it comes to the election in November?
Well, I think the country is very anxious. In a lot of different ways. So with respect to the economy, we had huge price rises during the Biden years. The prices aren't rising as much as they were then, but they're not going back down. So what used $100 grocery bag now still costs $140. People are anxious about that. There's all kinds of information and ideas and thoughts and actual actions by companies surrounding AI and the loss of white-collar jobs. Our country is 80% consumption, and things cost a lot. And our country is a big, huge service economy, and the strength of the economy comes from that kind of white upper middle class jobs as far as spending is concerned. And there's a lot of anxiety around that, and there's not a whole lot Trump can do about that. He's trying to do really big and bold things, bringing back manufacturing to this country, something that can't be done in 1 year. And it ultimately it'll be costly at the beginning, and it creates a whole new set of jobs that are not going to make the anxious people feel less anxious. So that side of the coin is really hard. That economy is really hard to placate concerns. And then there's so many goings-ons in the world. The Trump administration's had to spend so much time on foreign policy, and as we get closer and closer to the midterms, it's going to be amazing if they don't lose the House. I'm saddened by that fact because I think when that happens, it'll be pure pandemonium.
It will be.
He'll be impeached and everything. But we've commented many times about his work ethic, and think about how much he has done since this time last year, how many different topics he takes on, sometimes in a single day. And there's a lot of problems this country has. He's trying to do what he can to take all those problems on. But tonight's just going to be a spectacle, and I don't think anybody's vote is going to be changed based on tonight.
No.
I think the administration is betting on the economy showing really stronger signs of strength, and the left is voting is hoping the opposite.
So, when it comes to the feelings on the economy, I've always felt like the Republicans, they passed the big, beautiful bill, and we know that was important because taxes would have gone up on every American. I still don't think that was impressed upon the American people enough, and part of that is because of the legacy media. But here again, what's going to happen is no matter what he says tonight, you'll have probably really, really cool moments with the hockey team, some funny moments. But if he starts to do angry Trump, which he probably will because he didn't like the Supreme Court, case from last week, that's what will be highlighted on, the Today Show and CBS This Morning and CNN and the rest of it. Now, I do have concerns, though, genuine concerns that the Republicans are not, and I don't know how to improve this, they don't have the messaging down on the economy, and people are still kind of wavering on giving him credit for that. Now, that could change, like you said, with the tax increases, not tax increases, but tax refunds and AI and all the economic developments. I'm pretty rosy on the economy right now, John, but it doesn't matter if the numbers are good if people aren't feeling it.
Yeah, the problem we've always had is we've had with Trump is that Trump the House may be a majority Republican, the Senate a majority Republican, the country voted for Trump, but too many Republicans got dragged along with him such that Trump has majorities. Those Republicans in office, he doesn't have he doesn't have every single Republican supporting him. I mean, in the Senate, he loses 5 or 6 on any issue, and in the House, it's 10 or 12. And these Republicans don't, they have incumbency, and they don't, and bad things don't happen. They get reelected. So so we're fractured. While the country is very close to 50-50, 100% of the Democrats in the Senate, 100% of Democrats in the House are in lockstep. Doesn't matter what the message is. They don't have a message. The message is hate Trump. On the Republican side, there's none of that lockstep, and as a result, Trumpism or MAGA does not have a majority of Congresspeople or senators.
But here, let me ask you about MAGA, and I'm not even fond of that word, but that would be like the strong right side of Trump's support,
American
whatever you want to
first,
say.
American first policy.
How does MAGA feel about Trump right now? Because some of this stuff doesn't fly with MAGA when it comes to maybe Venezuela or Iran or some of the other issues. Has he lost a significant amount of support amongst the hardcore folks?
They're not enthusiastic about those things. Foreign policy is not what their concerns are. It's domestic policy. And so when to the extent that he's doing great things with foreign policy or things I think should be done, he doesn't. There's no enthusiasm from that side. I mean, it's American first policies, and when he focuses on what happens here in America, then he does great. I mean, the border's closed, it's sealed, it's not an issue anymore. And now what all polls say, well, people aren't concerned about the border because it's been done. That's 100% of American first issue. But if you think about it, he solved that in the first 90 days. And since then, it's been a lot of issues that are not necessarily specific to this working class.
Right.
The change in the economy and the turnaround for the working class America, it's certainly being felt by people that find themselves in those jobs. But that's not the majority of workers. The majority of workers are in the service economy, and so their anxiety remains.
You gonna watch the speech tonight live, anticipating?
No, I find that if I kind of watch everybody else live tweeting it, it's better than actually watching it.
Sometimes I do that too, but I have got to see, what happens with the hockey team, and I am interested in tonight's speech for sure. What I'm not interested in going like 2 hours. Okay,
yeah.
Can't we kind of
maybe there'll be an intermission?
This would be the kind of thing Trump would do. Have an intermission. Hey, Lamping, we'll see you Friday in Cottleville at the Fish Fry.
Yeah, see you in Cottleville.
All right, take care.
Westbound 44 is a little bit slow on either side of Antire tonight. Now, there's not an accident reported there, but there must be something in that area, so bear that in mind. We've got westbound 40 lining up Kings Highway out through McCausland, a little bit at Boone's Crossing, and again on either side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 70 westbound, it's not bad. Little slow west of 94. Southbound 270, moderate volume in pockets from Olive down through about 64. And now we've got an accident reported northbound 270 near the Clayton Road overpass. 55 jams headed for Bates. And there was an accident on the Illinois side, Route 3 near Monsanto, that caused a jam in both directions. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
In a little bit, we're going to talk with George Rosenthal from Throttle On. It's Tech Talk Tuesdays. But what's amazing about technology is it affects everything that you do or buy or have in your home. And you might not even think about it very much when it comes to your flooring. But we now have, and Michael's Flooring Outlet here in St. Louis with 3 awesome locations can guide you into great products for your situation. But they're literally offering the most advanced technologies in flooring. Waterproof, pet-proof, easy to clean. The silky soft Mohawk carpeting is incredible. They have hard flooring products as well. Maybe you want real wood. Maybe you want something that looks like wood that's not going to have the effects that real wood. They have all those options. And you can do a lot of this work on the website at igotfloored.com. You can upload a picture, get some inspiration, or just check out the galleries. And the galleries, really include everything: carpet, hardwood, laminate, tile, luxury vinyl, the list goes on. I did a flooring project with Michael's a year and a half ago, and we did it on a pretty strict budget. And I want to emphasize that you can absolutely do that as well. So head on in to one of the 3 locations in Old Town St. Peters, Darden Prairie, West County on Olive, or the website, igotfloored.com from Michael's Flooring Outlet. Well, Sue, I love, and I think we love, and much of the audience loves Riley Gaines. She's really been a hero in the women's sports issue, fighting against some of the trans nonsense out there. And I don't know that she had posted much of her thoughts about what happened with the call into the locker room after the win the other day. But there were a couple things that she said in a tweet from about an hour ago that caught my attention. So she says, "My thoughts on Trump's comments about USA women's hockey team." So this is specifically on the alleged denigration of the team. She says, "If you're mad about this, but don't believe women should have a category free of men, you're just an unserious person. But number 2 is what caught me off guard. She says, and I think I understand this a little bit after thinking about it, but she said, not going to lie, I face-palmed when I heard it. I knew exactly how it would be spun. I know his humor, but this one missed the mark, in my opinion. Now, what she's specifically talking about is when he invites the team, and then he goes, I got to invite the ladies, too. Now, obviously, if you're a lady, Sue, I don't know. Do you interpret that? I did not think that was denigrating the team, and I could hear the players that were cheering on the women's team when he mentioned that. He was joking about it.
Well, Riley was just saying it would be spun the wrong way.
No.
Yeah, right?
No. Well, yes, but she's
coming up.
also saying that he shouldn't have said it the way that he did.
Well, that's because whatever he says
Yeah,
is
right.
going to be spun the wrong way. So if you don't give him the words, then
Yeah. So point number 3, this goes on a little bit here. Trump is the reason true women's hockey exists.
Yes.
USA Women's Hockey has just recently voted to ban men from women's hockey. Hasn't instituted it yet. Wouldn't have happened without Trump in the EO. There are teams with as many as 4 men on one USA Hockey women's team in Minnesota.
Oh, gosh.
How can people claim that he doesn't care about women's hockey when his EO is the reason true women's hockey even exists? Number 4, it's unfair to disparage the men's team over taking the phone call, going to the State of the Union, being proud to be an American, etc. They've been incredibly supportive and congratulatory of the women's team. Jack Hughes said Megyn Keller's goal in the women game, the golden goal, was his inspiration to do the same. And on that note, here's Jack Hughes.
Are you guys excited to be going to the White House and meeting Trump?
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, anytime, everything is so political. We're athletes. We're so proud to represent the U.S. And when you get the chance to go to the White House, meet the president, we're proud to be Americans, and that's so patriotic. So no matter what your views are, we're super excited to go to the White House tomorrow and just be a part of that.
How do you feel about the women not going?
They got busy schedules too. I mean, I know we're getting everyone's giving us backlash for all the social media stuff today, but it's so negative. People are so negative out there, and they're trying to find a reason to just put people down and make something out of almost nothing. But our relationship with them over the course of being in the Olympic Village, I think we were so tight with their group and our group after we won the gold medal.
Look, these kids are under a lot of pressure.
They
and
are.
That's a lot of maturity there from Jack
Yes.
Hughes. I mean, you look at him being interviewed, he looks like he's 15 years old. And what he said there was just sincere, and it was from the heart. Now, back to Riley, because I wanted to kind of insert that into what she was tweeting about. She said this, and I think we all would maybe feel this way. I wish the women would attend Trump's State of the Union address. They were invited just as the men. I think their attendance would have inspired young girls across the country and been significant for the sport of women's hockey. I hope it really was just a scheduling issue that they couldn't be there. I do think that there was a scheduling issue. I also think that there are reports that at least a couple members of the team said, no, we don't want to do it. So fine, that's fine. They do their own thing. The men can be there, but there's nothing that any of us hold against the women's team. I was so excited. I watched that game on Saturday because I was excited for them, and I thought maybe they had a better chance to win than the men.
Well, and she's right. There wouldn't be a female hockey team without Trump.
So she goes on here. There are a couple more points that need to be made here. In general, Riley says there's a group of people, and this is what we've addressed pretty much the last couple of days. There's a group of people so anti-America that they genuinely hate patriotism. We're seeing this on full display. It's sickening to me. It really is. They don't want unity. They'll use it, an inspiring sports story, to tear down the man in the Oval Office. Y'all are weird. My heart swells with pride for both the men and the women's team.
Yep.
And Alicia Liu, too. And all these other, people that didn't become commie traders like Eileen Gu. Number 6, there's still a ton of work needing to be done to protect women's sports and the threats that they face. Abusive coaches, NIL, adequate funding and resources. I'll continue to use my contacts and platform to advocate for these things and encourage others to do the same. So I thought that was a very positive, tweet by Riley. She obviously, and I guess I understand because I felt at the moment when I heard him do that, oh, yeah, this is what's going to happen.
That's what she felt.
So I do understand what she's saying, but I think that's just unbelievable that people are trying to pin that on him.
Oh, it's entirely believable.
Well, you're right.
You know,
It is entirely
it's just
believable.
part of it. And if he hadn't said that, I don't know what they would have focused on, but it would have been something.
So what do you do? Like you're all the late night comedians last night that just mocked Trump and they supported the women's team. They barely said anything about the men's team and the successes that they've had. You had the Kachuk brothers were just on live with Brett Baer. I mean, I thought that was incredible. They're doing St. Louis proud. It was, I think, Matthew that gave President Trump his medal to borrow.
Yes.
He put the medal around himself, President Trump did. He gave it back to Matthew. But how do you go on TV tonight or tomorrow? I mean, they already taped the evening shows for tonight, or they're doing it right now, and not be proud as an American of what this team accomplished and what might happen, what's likely to happen tonight with, I would think, would be incredibly patriotic, very special moments in the halls of Congress and in that chamber.
Yeah, they just believe that he is evil and there's no turning it.
Well, I can't wait to see how that all goes down tonight. I think it's going to be fun. George Rosenthal in Tech Talk Tuesdays is coming up. He always has fascinating topics.
He does.
We'll get into some of that. I also have an audio cut of the day before the show's up.
Well, we've got some volume out there. It's not bad on westbound 6440. It's Kings Highway and pockets out through 270 and at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 70 westbound moderate volume Jennings Station Road and at 94. Southbound 270, just some moderate volume. And that's from Page down through Ladue Road. It's a little slow at 21. 55 is jammed headed down toward Bates. We look great if you're taking any bridge into Illinois. In fact, it looks really good down there. And there was an accident reported on 109, just a little bit north of 44, and even north of there on 109. So take it easy. There was also a fire reported and causing delays on 109, near 109, enough to cause some delays this evening. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. 100 years. That's how long they've been repairing and replacing garage doors. For same-day service, no extra charge. For evening or Saturday service, go to overheaddoorstlewis.com. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Ethan Hannaford, our outstanding producer, turning some audio around. I want to just get to it right now because we have George coming up with Tech Talk Tuesdays. But this is Brady Kachuk, and I think you hear Matthew in the end of the clip with Brett Baer. They just did this interview.
I mean, it's just, you never really dream of being in this position, but to share this with him, but also my 23 other brothers after this experience that wouldn't change it for the world. And like Matthew said, it's just to be able to represent this country and all this amazing people and millions of Americans that were back home and we felt their love, we felt their support, and it truly was an amazing experience.
As you could hear, Brady did a lot of singing at 11 last night.
That was a reference to the bar in Miami last night, so that's pretty cool. And you might see them redo that, rendition of the national anthem tonight at the State of the Union. And at 5:31, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Tech Talk Tuesday with George Rosenthal of ThrottleNet. ThrottleNet.com.
My brain paused there for a minute, George, because I knew I had to press the sounder to bring you in officially to the show. George Rosenthal, how are you this afternoon?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me again. I really appreciate it. Always never boring in the tech world, is it?
Well, we saw you. I want to mention, I got to see you at the Fish Fry the other night, which was awesome. I wanted to throw you on. We just kind of ran out of time, but I also knew that this segment was coming up, and we always latch on fascinating things to talk about. So let me start with something that's undercovered, and that's the Zuckerberg trial that's underway in California. You know, because of the news cycle, I always say this, that's probably something that deserves a little bit more attention, you know, considering it's about a very important issue that affects kids. So is there a way to gauge how that's going?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, in my mind, now this is obviously in my mind, there's 12 members of a jury that got to decide this, but in my mind, there's some pretty bad evidence that they were literally writing code to manipulate people to spend more time online. And specifically, there are emails and documents that show they were targeting tweens and that their goal was to get teenagers. But then, and literally multiple high ups in the company at Meta have documented emails and documents that push, we can't get the teens unless we get the tweens. And this is like coming out of their documentation. The lead attorney started off, the paragraph they started off with is fascinating. It says, he starts off talking to the jury, imagine a slot machine that fits in your pocket. It doesn't require you to read or type. It only requires one physical motion. For a child, every time she swipes, she's gambling, but not for money, for mental stimulation. And that's exactly what we're talking about here.
That is exactly what we're talking about, right?
That's what we're gambling on, is our children's mental stability as young people with mush for brains that haven't even come into their 20s yet, that are going to be formed by this slot machine in their pocket. It's extremely. This is a very important topic, and I'm surprised most aren't talking about this. Like you said, I mean, look, the one thing that's protected these social media companies is a law called Section 230, and it's talking about how they are not responsible for the content that's posted on their platform. But what they're trying to prove in court is that they are responsible for the code and design of how the system actually functions. So, right, to give you an example, there is an internal email that came out in 2022 that was sent around that said, we are no longer incentivizing employees for length of time spent on the platform, which means at some point they were incentivizing the company, the internal employees, to come up with methods and algorithms to keep people online swiping longer. So they were actually paid bonuses or whatever the incentive was based on the amount of average time spent and the age of the people spent online, which completely tells me that this was all by design. I mean, obviously, gut instinct will tell you, duh, because they have to sell ads. That's this whole thing is about money and selling ads. But the fact that they're targeting people, well, one of them, Nick Clegg, who is the Meta's global affairs, he's the head of global affairs. He actually said in a document that came out in court, we have age limits which are unenforced. It is difficult to claim we are doing all we can. I mean, wow. This is high up at Meta saying that we have age limits, but we're not enforcing it.
Well, but the problem here is, and what's the ask for the lawsuit? What is the resolution that they're seeking? Because the problem is that the genie is completely out of the bottle here. Jonathan Haidt wrote a great book that came out a while back called The Anxious Generation. I've bought it for some friends to say, look, you know, and what his point is, the mental illness spike that we're seeing with these young people is directly connected with the great rewiring of childhood caused by, you know, the shift of the smartphones. So, you know, the information, the evidence that he brings to the table is not even disputable. But, you know, I'll admit, even as a parent, you want to have communication with your kids. I have a dispute in my own household about what is an appropriate age for an iPhone and things like that. And George, I wish I could say I win some of these battles, but I don't. So I'm really concerned because I know about Jonathan's book and I see some of this stuff out there, but I don't know how you can correct it.
Yeah, take a look at what Australia's doing. They're taking at least one step to try, and that is blocking anyone under the age of 16 from using these things. The other thing we can do is possibly put times that are built into the apps, built into the systems that limit the amount of time so that it's not mindless swiping back and forth, looking for that mental stimulation that ends up leading to everything from depression and then goes on to everything like this plaintiff is claiming that she had body dysmorphia because she didn't have any friends because she got depressed because she spent all of her time swiping on social media and looking at everybody else's great lives. So I get the other side of the argument too, and that is the parents got to step in.
Yes.
At some point, the parents got to say, look, enough is enough. We can't rely on big $100 billion companies to raise my kid.
Yes.
And that is the big part. That is a very big part. But I think there's also some responsibility when you see the youth of the country being torn apart in ways that no one's ever seen before. Like this has never been like this ever before. So it's definitely fascinating. I am very surprised this is not being covered more in the news on a day-to-day basis based on what this will affect. I mean, if the jury comes back and does not and sides with the plaintiff, there are 1,600 similar lawsuits out there. So this would set a precedent to completely change social media all the way around. Wow. And don't forget, TikTok and Snapchat have already settled at some sort of amount that hasn't been disclosed.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. George Rosenthal is here. It's Tech Talk Tuesdays on 97.1 FM Talk. All right. So one of your notes to Fred included a reference to something called the 10,000-year Pyrex hard drive from Microsoft. What the heck is that all about?
Yes, this is so cool. This is, a hard drive obviously is a spinning disk, spinning thousands and thousands of times. It requires electricity. They get worn out. You have moving parts. A hard drive can crash and so forth. Microsoft has been working on this for a long time. It's been called Project Silica. And it's a way to think about a drink coaster on your coffee table. It's about that size, about the size of a drink coaster. And it's glass that's just like Pyrex in your kitchen cabinet. Yeah. The Pyrex dishes you have. Very, very same stuff, but in a little bit different. About the size of a coaster. And it's using I can't remember I have to pronounce this, quadrillions of a second pulses that are creating three-dimensional structures bedded within the actual fibers of the glass. So you're permanently printing data inside this glass that cannot be destroyed.
Okay, but wait a second. The other thing you said is it requires no electricity?
It doesn't. So once it's burned into the glass, the data is there forever. And they have baked this. They've boiled it. They've tried to crush it. They have run steel wool over it and scratched the surface of it, and it still does not change the data or the ability to read the data. It's absolutely unbelievably fascinating. This is what they're calling this is the Library of Alexandretta, whatever, I can't pronounce that, to outlast civilizations. Essentially, this glass hard drive can last 10,000 plus years because the data is permanently stored inside the actual molecular structure of the glass.
Okay, what is the this will be a stupid question, but I'm
thinking
what is the practical application then for that?
Like you're a spy?
Is that something that I use as a consumer or businesses use, or what is that then?
Oh, absolutely. So imagine, let's take it down to just a regular household, and you want to keep your family pictures in your family for the next 5, 6, 10 generations. This is a way to put all of your family pictures, family history onto one piece of glass the size of a coaster. It'll hold 7 terabytes of data and keep this on a shelf. And also, it cannot be affected by any electromagnetic pulse. If there's any type of electromagnetic field, doesn't matter. A regular hard drive, if you hold a magnet up to it, it can be destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the most important question here. Can you cook a casserole in it, though?
Sounds like you can.
I was waiting for that with the Pyrex. That's right.
All right, we got other issues, though. George Rosenthal, Tech Talk Tuesdays. We never have enough time, so I want to get through some of this stuff. The first all AI malware has been discovered using Gemini. Is this a good thing?
Oh, no.
No, this is a terrifying thing, actually. This one only affects Android phones right now.
Oh,
so if you have an
great.
Android phone, do not download any banking app that has Morgan ARG in it. Right now, this is very big in Austria. It's very big in Australia. It's making its way around the globe. And what this is instead of a hacker writing a code that makes you click a button, this is malware that can get onto your phone, your Android device, of any brand, by the way, Samsung, Pixel, Motorola, it doesn't matter, gets onto the OS, and it looks at the screen of your OS, how all of your apps are organized, everything about your phone. Then it uses Gemini and asks Gemini, which is Google's artificial intelligence, it asks it how it can hide itself. And Gemini tells it in nanoseconds how to hide itself, giving it step-by-step instructions, and then basically pins itself to the recent apps so you can't swipe it away or close it. It's essentially unstoppable. And it is literally, I mean, we used to have to worry about hackers writing code. Now we got to worry about hackers prompting artificial intelligence to let the AI do all the work for them.
Oh, my gosh.
I know, right? Every week here.
Virus. I know. I hate to do that, but it's so true. This is the first virus that basically has its own brain and can adapt to your phone as you change your phone in real time.
Awesome. That's
it's
great
called
news.
Prompt.
Yeah, wonderful.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about something to wrap up a little bit more fun. Sue had a great story in Sue's News earlier this afternoon, and I'm going to have her kind of recap it here. We even have some audio.
Yeah, George, it's Coco Delivery. It's that robot delivery in L.A., and they put food in this little robot and send it to houses within 2 miles. Well, this woman ordered some food, got it out, and then the robot went rogue, ran through her garden, took part of the fence, and started rolling.
Cocos have been relentless. I heard a commotion. I came out here. I found the cocoa in my garden. It had got my fence caught up in its wheel. It uprooted a whole bunch of plants in my garden and then just drove away with the fence attached to it. I chased after it and I looked like a total crazy person, running after a robot in the middle of the street, yelling after it. I was trying to block it, get in its way, and it was trying to go around me. These private companies can come in and dump their technology in our communities, and there's no sense of accountability.
So I heard you say when Sue was describing this, you've seen this. I don't know if you saw it at CES, but that's kind of a fascinating story, isn't it?
No, I actually saw it when I was out visiting my family in California, rolling down the sidewalk while we were driving down Hollywood Boulevard.
That's crazy.
And I've seen this exact robot. And boy, doesn't that tell so many stories. A, we are not there yet. Okay, we got a long way to go before these robots start walking around and doing stuff. Number one. Number two, there's got to be some oversight and regulation on what's being put out in the public, because that thing can roll over a kid. That thing doesn't know necessarily. I mean, it pulled down a fence, for crying out loud.
I was thinking about, I should have thought of kids, but I'm seriously thinking about a cat. I have cats. I wonder if it rolls over one of my cat's tails. The cat gets sucked up in there.
Yes, it's crazy. I think we've got a long way to go. And then you throw artificial intelligence in there, and goodness knows where that goes. Look, we're about to experience the Waymo taxis here in St. Louis, and I want to be one of the first ones standing there on the sidewalk wanting to get into one of those things. But at the same time, I'm also a little nervous because look where we're at with robotics so far.
Well,
right? We're not there yet.
Yeah, so I was tempted to say, you know what, George, when that happens, you and I are going to do this. But I got a better idea. When that happens, you do it just the way that you said you were going to do it. I'll sit here in the studio and then see how that turns out.
I'll do it with you, George. We'll go for a ride.
There you go, Sue, you and I will go down. We can do it live on the air and drive down the main street, Market Street, in a Waymo.
I would do it. Look, I was in self-driving mode in a Tesla, and this goes back to one of the original Teslas 6-7 years ago. I did not feel safe at that time, and it was very imperfect. However, as you've indicated every week, the technology has come a long way. Check out George's company at throttlenet.com/971. Always great to have you on for Tech Talk Tuesdays, and we'll talk next week. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a great week.
Audio cut of the day coming up.
We still have some volume westbound 6440 Kings Highway out through McCausland. 70 westbound looks great. 64 out west, just some moderate volume right at 70. We've got westbound Manchester jammed at 141. That is not unusual. And if you're headed in to Illinois, we look great on the bridges downtown. But eastbound 64, a little slow. Just east of 157, that all due to road work. This report brought to you by the fabulous people at the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I have a niece who lives here in St. Louis. She went to SLU, and when she was, just about a sophomore, my sister and her husband up in Chicago bought a home for her and her roommates to live in and, rent, and they actually just sold that home. But I got a call from my sister one day. She said, hey, do you have a tuck pointer? Because she lives in the suburbs of Chicago. I said, absolutely. Morelli tuck pointing, John and Cindy, at the home that they bought, which ended up being the Money Pit. Remember that movie from years ago?
Oh, I totally do.
I think that was literally this house that my sister bought. But look, they had to call in the big guns because there was a big wall that was collapsing. Not all tuck pointing issues are that serious. This one was a pretty big one. But my point is, small, big, medium size, doesn't matter. Morelli tuck pointing here in St. Louis, they're the masonry specialists, and they can help you with any of those needs. They've been doing it for decade upon decade, top-notch skills and services. I know John really prides himself on exceeding expectations. I mean, they're not going to promise you that a project's going to be done sooner than expected, but quite often, and you can see this if you read the reviews online at MorelliTuckPointing.com, you'll find that they come in a lot earlier and exceed expectations. That's always a great sign from a great company here in St. Louis. Morelli Tuck Pointing, 314-645-1387. Here we go. More nonsense. This just posted at the New York Times, The Athletic, which is, part of the New York Times. The U.S. men's hockey team won Olympic gold for the first time since the Miracle on Ice 46 years ago. And for a time, the joy belonged to everyone, our columnist writes. By the next day, it didn't. Jerry Brewer, a senior columnist at The Athletic. Their triumph is now attached to Trump. His track record suggests it won't be used to celebrate everyone. It's more likely to be framed as dominance than shared aspiration. And I made this clear very earlier. You're a lunatic if you think that way. If you cannot celebrate the joy of these amazing victories, the women and the men's team, there's really something mentally wrong with you. And I understand that people don't like Trump. And, one of the things that's funny is a lot of people, and look, people who've listened to me for a long time know that I was horrified by some of the behavior, especially in the first term, and the way that he referred to some people. And I don't give him a pass on that stuff all the time. I still think he says stupid stuff. I also think he says stuff that is misinterpreted on a regular basis because of his sense of humor. So I said this, Sue, you know this, because one of the most important reasons to me, this is just personal, that Kamala Harris did not win a year and a half ago is because of America 250. We are celebrating our 250th birthday. I was 11 years old in 1976, and I remember the bicentennial, and it was very special, and we were proud to be Americans. This win, these wins, these Olympics, make a great launching point for America 250. My guess is you're going to hear some of that tonight about the anniversary of the country. But, I said this, and it was maybe it was weird to some people, but in a weird way, we're on day 24 of Nancy Guthrie at this point. In a weird way, for 2 weeks, the country was together.
Yep.
They weren't complaining as much, the partisan sides certainly chirping at one another, and there was the government shutdown. But for the most part, you didn't have that deep division that's been right there in the middle, one side versus the other side. But that's all gone now. Because of what? Because of people who love America and are proud to play for their country and are proud to represent their country. That's what people are pissed about. It's stunning. And more evidence of that here.
Stand by. Playback ready. Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, let me be clear. More evidence of some of the positivity. Let's focus on the positivity. So it was these kids, Matthew and Brady Tkachuk. My God, they're just making us proud.
They're
Matthew
great.
was the one. They're in the Oval Office, and Matthew was the one that did not gift President Trump his medal.
I love you. I'll put it on you. Absolutely. I'm not giving it back. I'm not giving it. I'll trade you that for a pen. Hey, that's cool. There we go. I never thought I'd ever have this on my.
I think he said, did he say, I'll trade that for the pen or for a pen or something like that?
I didn't hear that. That's funny.
And so Brett Baer, this is another thing I love. Brett Baer did his show, and earlier this hour, I looked up at the screen. I think we were talking with Senator Lamping, and the Tkachuk brothers were both on with Brett Baer. And here's how Matthew described the past 72 hours.
Yeah, it's been insane. I don't even know how many hours it's been so far, but you win, you celebrate with family and friends in Milan, then we're flying back first thing in the morning, then we're in Miami, and we're supposed to be in New York, now we're here in D.C., and now we're going to the State of the Union tonight. It's absolutely insane, but we deserve it. We really pride ourselves on being true Americans that would do anything it takes for this country and to win. And I'm so proud of the guys, and I'm so proud to be able to compete with them.
I'm so proud of them.
Thank you. That's nice to hear.
That. We don't hear that from our friends on the left. I'm sorry, those of you who think you're centrist. Your party hates this country, okay? And it's on full display right now in the last couple of days. Here's Matthew again.
Second the boots hit the ground back here in the U.S., we could feel how many millions of people were tuning in, supporting us, and just loving how we represent. I mean, I know we said it. We were kind of America's team there for a bit, and we could feel it across the Atlantic. And we just appreciate everybody's support. And it was truly amazing just to represent the greatest country in the world at that stage. It's all of our dreams to win a Stanley Cup and win Olympic gold. And for us to be able to do that for the United States of America, it's just one of the greatest honors you could ever have.
How about that?
I get chills just hearing them talk, and I think it's amazing. I think it's going to be a very special night. Don't forget, Marc Cox is there at the State of the Union. We had a great chat with him earlier this afternoon as he was emerging from his nap because he had travel schedules and he had to get up early. I wish him well tonight because my sense is what he told us at 3:20 is he was going to an event like right about now with Speaker Johnson and the rest of the Republican caucus. And I don't even know if he knew exactly where he was going to be seated tonight. I told him it was a major fail. If Trump doesn't single him out and call him out, then this trip is just completely not worth it. But my point was going to be, I think a lot of fun stuff will probably happen after the State of the Union. Again, here is a fail. If Mark doesn't get a picture with the Tkachuk brothers, that's a fail. But he's got to go to bed and do the show, too.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
He's torn.
He's going to have fun. He can do, you know what?
He can
Trump,
do it.
Trump sleeps like 3 hours a night, right?
Exactly.
Marc Cox can do it too.
Looking good on the roads. If you're headed into Illinois, we look great. No problems on the bridges downtown. 70 westbound, a little slow past 94. 64, still some moderate volume on either side of Hampton, and eastbound at Big Bend. Westbound, well, we're a little bit slow. Westbound Manchester at 141. 55, though, looks good. And we are quiet through North County. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, for years I have followed Annie's show, and I've heard her talking about the bagel loan and Stewie. And I've met Stewie late last year at our birthday party, and he's a fascinating guy. Really, really interesting, engaging, smart. He has got it going on, and he wants to help you save some money. So Stewie is Stuart Rosenblum, and he has Stuart's American Mortgage. And we give you his personal cell number because he wants to go one-on-one and help you. 314-324-4440. You don't want to sit in customer service line. You want to know who's going to help you. And this is a family-run operation. So you're going to pay less. You keep more of your money. How does he do it? Well, that is where Stuart probably can explain this to you better. But when you refinance with the bagel loan, and it's a great time. We had a report last week that, mortgage rates were at the lowest point in a few years, I think. Now, they're still higher than we were used to, but still, when you're paying no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, no broker fees, you are wise to refinance if you haven't done it for over 3 years. If you're buying a home and you take out a loan for $200,000 more, you pay zero lender fees. So the bagel loan is going to save you a lot of money. Stewie's been doing this for 30 years. He's very proud of it. He's a super interesting, really fascinating guy. Quick closes as little as 10 days. Get with him today. Google the bagel loan or call Stewie on his phone. 314-324-4440. NMLS number 226715.